Radio check, 1 2 3, 1 2 3. We should be live. Yeah, it looks like we are live. Thank you everyone for tuning in and welcome along to the coverage here in Spa, the wonderful Spa. We are 1 hour away from the start of the race, and what a quite exciting weekend that we've had. Yeah, we've had quite a nice weekend so far, and quite the exciting race up ahead for us, I think. So much appreciated for everyone tuning in right at the start of the stream. If you haven't hit the like button already, be sure to do so, and we'll get into our sort of coverage of Antonelli, Verstappen, Norris in the top three. You know, they'll be fighting out for the win. Well, actually, Norris won't be. Norris has got a 10-place penalty, of course. But yeah, I think one of the big things of news that has come out from the end of qualifying yesterday is that George Russell has not got a driving style issue, has not got an adaptation issue to the car. There is some sort of mechanical problem with his car. They do not know what the problem is, but essentially Russell, I think, came out and said that he's losing, 3/10 down the straights for no reason whatsoever. So nothing that the Mercedes engineers can figure out why that he's losing that time. They've changed the driving style. They've tried to fix loads of different things, but it was noticeable in Silverstone. It is also noticeable here that there are just issues with the car, and the power unit is not delivering the same level of output that Antonelli's delivering. Antonelli does have a fresher power unit, so newer components in Antonelli's car, so that may of course be a factor. But George Russell's total pace, the fact that he is half a second behind Antonelli in qualifying, quite a lot of that is down to the power unit, according to George Russell himself and Toto Wolff as well. So it's not just, Russell blaming the car. If Toto Wolff comes out and says it as well, it makes it a whole lot more believable. Right. Do you think anyone will start on softs? I'll pull up the strategy shortly. Yes, someone could start on the softs. It would be a viable strategy. But yeah, it depends on, of course, track temperature and things like that. Are you actually going to gain a huge amount by starting on the softs? Because your main aim of starting on the soft tyres is just to get a really good launch off the line and out of the source to make some overtakes. So if you're not gaining that much time in essence by being on the softs compared to the mediums, then the teams would much rather have the medium tyres. Why can we watch using the VPN? What you can do is it's on Service TV this weekend, folks. So it's an Austrian VPN server and Service TV. Hello Larry, thanks for the streams. I got F1 TV, but your streams are more fun and informative in my opinion. Well, thank you very much. Yeah. No, I think that of course, some people will prefer F1 TV, some people prefer my streams, but with my streams at least, there's a lot more flexibility in what I talk about. Sometimes I can go totally off topic and talk about something that I find interesting, or interesting about the sport. Whereas on a television broadcast, you've got to stay very tight to what's being shown on the screen and things like that. So no, I think it's quite nice. Glad that you enjoy the coverage. Right. Why are all the drivers talking about turn number 5 for overtaking? Because it's one of the biggest braking zones on the circuit, and you've got this big old straight beforehand. So the bus stop chicane is, again, an overtaking opportunity, but turn number 5 is, you've got this very long straight. You can slipstream, you can overtake, and all of this sort of stuff. And then yeah, you're going from 8th gear down into 4th gear, I'd say, in these cars. Well, if you're in 8th gear at the end of the straight, you might even be in 7th gear, but big enough braking zone to make an overtake. So that's why everyone is talking about that one. Do I watch the F1 races on F1 TV? No, I mean, I'm sponsored by Proton VPN. I tell you guys how to watch the coverage via an Austrian VPN server, so I do the same, and I will yeah, that's how I watch it. Since Max got a toe yesterday, that's what made him get P2. Do you think he might lack today with Antonelli goes way past overtaking interval? Yes, that is the case. Max Verstappen is out of position in a sense. If you're just going on pure pace itself, Verstappen probably himself, he himself said, "Oh, I would have qualified probably 5th or 6th position." So he thinks that he's gained 2/10, 3/10 from that toe from Isaac Hadjar, which is great, of course, but he's got to be able to hang on to that, which might be a little bit tough. Firstly, of course, because the Mercedes power unit is so good, and secondly, I think Red Bull have opted for a slightly higher downforce setup, as you can see by the top speeds there. Racing Bulls are the quickest, they're first and second, but then you have to wait for it to sort of scroll all the way to the bottom, and you find the 2 Red Bulls there at the bottom of the speed traps, and that is because firstly, they deploy a little bit less power going through Eau Rouge and the Camel Straits, but also they are running a higher downforce setup than most. They've also not got their Macarena wing, which does provide them with lower drag levels down the straight, so that would give them a little bit more top speed, but of course you run the risk of it not closing properly, and then of course a DNF and potential issues like that. So that makes sense they're not using that, but again, things that are contributing to their lack of pace. So, yeah, the lack of top speed against George Russell is going to be a very difficult challenge for Max. Even if he does overtake Antonelli off the start of the race, then again, holding him off with a lack of top speed is going to be extremely difficult. And we'll see, if Verstappen can hold on to second place or if he's going to drop down into, 5th or 6th, which is where he expects to be. F1 game, big events today. Yeah, F1 race, World Cup. You got a cricket match as well. Yeah. World Cup final today, actually. I might actually do a stream for the World Cup final. I'm not 100% sure just yet. But I thought, why not? We have got, in fact, let me pull up the, this is what I was going to show you guys. You've of course got what's this? This is Carlos Sainz here and Fernando Alonso, of course, repping the Spanish football team, and then you've got Franco Colapinto and of course repping the Argentina team as well. So we'll see how that goes down later on today. But looking at the race strategies, what we're doing for here is this is what the tyre situation is looking like. Start the race on the mediums, go on to the hards, or start the race on the softs, go on to the hards. And then, of course, strategy number 3 and 4 is just the flipped around version where you start on the hards. Strategy 5 is for when you've got low tyre wear. If the tyres, if the track temperature is low and things like that, then I think that strategy 5 may be an option, but who knows. Can I go through the track? Yeah, I will go through the track as we get closer to the time. Of course, we've still got 52 minutes left to go. Do a stream for the World Cup. I love your commentary. Well, I'm sure quite a lot of people do like my commentary, but I think part of why my F1 commentary is good is because I am quite knowledgeable about Formula One, whereas with football, I'm not really an expert, so I don't know how that would go. But I guess we'll see. Right, next up is the pit stop loss time here. So it's 18.5 seconds under green flag conditions, 11 seconds during safety car and virtual safety car. So you gain about, 9.5 seconds, 7.5 seconds under safety car or VSC. So the thing with that is a 2-stop strategy, according to Pirelli, is 10 seconds slower, but then you gain 7.5 seconds by coming into the pit lane under safety car conditions. So it could make sense to do a 2-stop if the safety car comes out at an optimal time. Again, it has to be a very, very optimal time for it to actually come out. Otherwise, it's pointless coming in. So we will, we'll see how that plays out. In terms of the tyre situation, every single driver has got 2 fresh sets of hards and 1 fresh set of mediums, and then they've got a with variety of used soft tyres and maybe 1 or 2 new soft tyres as well. But yeah, I said every single driver with the exception of the Audi drivers and the Cadillac drivers, they have the opposite. So they have 2 fresh sets of mediums and only 1 fresh set of hards. But yeah, apart from Audi and Cadillac, everyone else, 2 fresh sets of hards, 1 fresh set of medium. So if there was to be a 2-stop, for example, it would probably be medium to hard, and then, there's a safety car or something, and then you pit again for the hard tyres, allowing you to, pull off some overtakes on some slightly fresher tyres, and that might be the way forward. Of course, if we do get a safety car around about, let's say, lap 28 or so, then we could see the medium tyres get used by the Cadillac team or by the Audi team, and that would be quite beneficial for them to go to the end of the race. Oh, let me block these adverts here. Apologies, folks. Right. Lewis was talking about the balance of the car being a worry due to the crash. You think Ferrari could have been second with Charles and third or fourth with Lewis without the crash? Well, look, Charles said that he could have got second, but what he saw was, in fact, I might be able to pull it up here on the replay. So here we've got the live timing data for the race, so give me a sec. So Charles Leclerc, so you can see this, folks, this can be a little bit hard to point out, but on the the simulator here, on where the Rolex barrier ends, you can see this little black square, and that black square is a light, it's your flashing lights for your blue flags or yellow flags or green flags or whatever it is. But that specific one is the one indicating for the pit lane itself. So it is indicating, is there a yellow flag in the pit lane, or is there a reason to go slowly in the pit lane? And while Charles Leclerc was doing his hot lap, so he was coming through here, went through the bus stop chicane, totally fine. And then he got to around about this point here, and he had turned in, and he had saw this little black rectangle. It was flashing yellow for Charles Leclerc while he was doing his quali lap. Now, I don't know what was going on in the pit lane, but that yellow was specifically for the pit lane. It says that in the race director's notes, but Charles Leclerc either hadn't read it or it didn't come to his mind at that point. But he thought that yellow flag was for on the circuit itself, and he said that he backed out of his lap right coming out of the bus stop chicane because he didn't want to get a penalty for driving quickly during yellow flags. So that, as you can see there, just there on the above the Rolex sign, that was flashing yellow for Charles Leclerc, and he thought that was for the circuit while it was actually for the pit lane, and that resulted in him losing, doing, not the greatest final sector. So potentially, according to Charles at least, he said he could have been up in second position. So yeah, that's for Charles' thing. And then for Hamilton, I'm not so sure, right? They may have had to change some components, may have had to go back to old versions and things like that to get the car repaired in time. So maybe the balance of the car did change after the crash, but I haven't really seen much of that, to be honest. Yeah. Okay. Also, folks, you can see here the drivers that have got grid penalties. So Fernando Alonso with grid penalties, Hadjar with grid penalties, Stroll as well, and Sainz. Sainz also got added onto the list quite recently, about 2 hours ago, I would say. He also, Williams went through and put on new control electronics. So that's, I think, a new ECU for Carlos Sainz, and he also taking a grid penalty to go to the back of the pack. F1 Gamer, I've made a commentary of F1. I'll have a look at your channel, buddy. No use of Max at P2 anyways. He'll go down to P5 battling with Hamilton and Oscar. Help Mercedes extend the lead ahead of the Ferraris. Well, we'll see what it looks like. If we actually look at the race pace, right? So let's pull up. This is numbers from free practice 2, by the way, folks. So you've got Mercedes being the quickest on race pace by about 0.3, and you've got McLaren and Red Bull and Ferrari all very, very close behind. So yeah, Verstappen could of course hold off the Ferraris maybe for a little bit if this race pace numbers are to be believed, but Mercedes do seem to be in a bit of another league right now, especially in the hands of Kimi Antonelli. Looking at Aston Martin, you can see over here that they are 4 seconds off, 4.3 seconds off. That's around about 4% off. So they're hoping that their upgrade package that they bring in Hungary is going to get them 2.5 seconds worth of lap time. So that will bring them closer to around about where the Williams are, maybe the Haas if it's 2.5 seconds. But yeah, it's not great really for the Aston Martin team. Cadillac started out the season pretty badly, and they have surpassed them, and they're a whole second up on Cadillac, or a whole second up on Aston Martin. So yeah, there's a lot riding on this B spec car that's supposed to arrive in Hungary. We'll just have to sort of wait and see. Stroll didn't outqualify Fernando. Stroll had, I think, only 10 places of grid penalties, and Alonso had 20 or something like that. So that's why Alonso is below. Yeah. And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, this was Carlos Sainz here. So Carlos Sainz, after talking about the cars, whoever saw these simulations in 2022, 2023 and didn't look at this and says, how can we accept this, needs to review what happened, because it shouldn't have happened. So, again, more complaining about the regulations and the engines and the power units. Verstappen has been doing it as well. He's toned it down a little bit, and I'm also going to tone it down a little bit, because at the end of the day, the regulations are here. I would love to change them. I'd love to just be able to increase the fuel flow rate, increase the size of the fuel tanks, so we get more horsepower out of the engines, and job done, sorted. But these whole cars and the whole weight distribution and everything is designed so in such detail that, let's add an extra 30 kilograms onto our fuel tank so we can run a higher fuel flow rate and then have more power from the power unit. It's just not really going to work. So I guess I think in Hungary it'll be totally fine, because it's a circuit where you've got loads of corners and loads of recharge opportunities. At circuits like Spa, Monza, Silverstone, that's where it looks at its absolute worst. Yeah. Okay. F1 Gamer, who will win the AMR 26 or the F2 cars? Well, the Formula 2 cars from last year, I think, had 620 horsepower, if I remember correctly. And the Formula 1 cars of this year, if you just look at the internal combustion engine, they've only got 500. So if you've got a Formula 1 car that has run out of battery, and you have a drag race going down a straight, then what you're going to see is the Formula 2 car is going to win. So, that's that, to be honest. That is that. Why is Hadjar down 11 places from P10? Hadjar has a 30-place grid penalty, and for that reason he has been dropped to the back of the pack. He's got brand new power unit components, and hence he's going to be starting from the back of the field. We'll see what progress he can make, but it's going to be a tough one for Isaac Hadjar to make his way through the field. Eau Rouge not flat anymore. It is flat, but the cars just slow themselves down. So the battery knows that it's about to approach Eau Rouge, and then it's like, time to recharge the battery a little bit, and then the drivers go through Eau Rouge. Formula 2 cars are literally taking P1 better than the current Formula 1. It is... they are... Yes, like the Formula 1 cars are taking P1 in a very interesting way. I'll get onto that a little bit later if I remember. I said 30, so 3-0 place grid penalty for Isaac Hadjar. Also, the other thing is McLaren. So, Lando Norris was looking really, really good in quali yesterday, and part of the reason why is apparently McLaren have been able to get some of the software from Mercedes to, do all of the most accurate simulations on where to deploy your battery, where to recharge your battery and things like that. So we did see a step up in performance from McLaren this weekend, and I think that can be attributed to the fact that they've got more accurate numbers to work out where to deploy and recharge battery. So that is that's how it's going there for the McLaren team, which is nice to see. Yeah, looks like we've got some drivers here just lining up at the end of the pit lane. We'll get the green light at the end of the pit lane very, very soon. The drivers will head out on their reconnaissance laps. We have got track temperature 35 degrees Celsius, air temperature 18.6 degrees Celsius. So that's in fact the coldest air temperature that we've had all weekend long. So that should be ideal for power units, right? Cooler air to cool down the power unit. That should work. And then, in terms of track temperature, 35 degrees, we've seen this before, and very, very manageable. F1 Gamer, how did Alonso end up last, even though Hadjar got a 30 place grid penalty? What is the Aston Martin consistency? So Alonso qualified in like 21st position or something like that, and then he qualified in 21st position and then got a 20 place grid penalty. So you add that up and you get 41st. He would have been, if there was a 41st position grid slot, then Alonso would have been there, and Hadjar qualified in 10th position. You add on 30 places and that would have been the 40th grid slot for Isaac Hadjar, and because 40 is smaller than 41, Hadjar starts the race above Fernando Alonso. Yeah. Well, the tyre strategies for today, let's pop them up on the screen. Here we go. Those are the tyre strategies today, ladies and gents. I suspect it's going to be for strategy number 1 for the vast majority of people today. Strategy number 1 will be the way that we see the drivers choose the race. It's pretty typical of Spa. Like, we never really get 2 stops around here. The track just isn't that rough in terms of the asphalt itself. It's relatively demanding on the tires through specific corners, but for the most part you're just sort of going flat out for a lot of Spa, and with these cars you're going slower and slower through the corners as well, so your tires just aren't wearing out as quickly. Do you think the Aston Martin upgrades will do something? Yeah, I think they will. If they don't do something, then Adrian Newey is going to be getting an incoming phone from the fraud hotline, because, what's gone on at Aston Martin, I have no idea. Weather forecast, unfortunately not. No expected chance of rain. I've had a look at 3 or 4 different weather radars, and they're all saying 0% chance of rain, which I would have loved to see some rain, but according to the forecast, unfortunately, it seems like it's going to be a dry race today in Spa. All right. Also, folks, if you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. It goes a long way to helping out the channel as always. And if you're not subscribed, be sure to do so as well, because we are well on our way now to 250k. We're about 48 subscribers away. 1,048 subscribers, and then job done, 250k. F1 Gamer, how about strategy number 5? We could see strategy number 5 come into play. If tyre wear seems to be lower than normal, then we could see strategy 5 in action. Track temperature at 34 degrees Celsius, I would say it's a little bit borderline to work strategy number 5. If you're in clean air, for example, like let's say Antonelli leads the race from the front, it becomes a lot more of a plausible option, because you're not in the dirty air of the car ahead of you, so you're not sliding around on your tyres and such. But I think for the vast majority of drivers, when they're going to be stuck in a little bit of traffic and stuff like that, they would prefer just to go for strategy number 1. It's a little bit safer as well. We don't know really how these soft tyres perform. Well, we do know how they perform, and most of the time it's not favourably around Spa. Because you're looking, if you pit at lap number 30, you are then expecting 14, 15 laps out of them. And, you know, looking at qualifying and things like that, the tyres seem to go off after 2 laps. So it's a risky choice, to be honest. Chances of a red flag are, well, we don't really know. If you look at history, of course, then you've got an indication that in the previous 8 editions of the Belgian Grand Prix, we've had 2 red flags, and then we've had 50% of those races have a safety car. So maybe we'll get a safety car today. I guess it's a 50-50 chance. Ash Brandis 490, thanks for the $5 donation there. What teams do you think will benefit through the next few seasons with the plan to reduce battery power? Well, it's the teams that have got more, the teams that have got a better internal combustion engine. So it would be Red Bull that seem to be the best in terms of the internal combustion engine side of things. I'm sure Audi will also make a decent internal combustion engine. So yeah, that would be my thinking really, Red Bull and Audi. Of course, that's not to say that Mercedes is suddenly going to become the slowest. It's just that the advantage is, slightly tilted in Red Bull's favour. Yeah. Okay, let's see. What else are we going to do? Oh yeah, quick reminder, if you do want to watch the coverage, $1 a month, you can get Proton VPN, and then watch it via an Austrian VPN service TV Formula 1. Yeah. Okay, let's get rid of that. Has the race started? No, it has not. As you can see, there's a countdown timer for the race starting, so, you know. What will the new engines be when they come in? The new engines will be, I think they're shifting more and more, it'll be, instead of 55%, 45% for engine to battery, it will be 60 to 40, that sort of thing. Discord plug as well. Oh yeah, folks, if you are a channel member, then you do have access to the channel member Discord. So if you just go on the community page on the YouTube community page of the channel, and scroll down a little bit, you'll be able to find the link for that. Why are the drivers moving on the track? The drivers are moving on the track because they're doing their reconnaissance laps. They're driving around the circuit, getting a feel for the conditions today, making sure all the cars work. Of course, we know we've got new power unit components, Carlos Sainz with new power unit components, same thing for Hadjar and a lot of these other drivers. So they want to make sure everything is working as expected before the race starts. AccuWeather says 44% chance of rain at 3 p.m. local time. Really, 44% chance of rain? Well, that bodes well in Lewis Hamilton's favour. Let's have a look. AccuWeather, Spa-Francorchamps weather. Let's have a look. It is saying... yeah, it actually is giving a surprisingly high chance of rain. That's strange, because if I go on to Google and search Spa weather, it says, oh, it's gone up to 15%. Okay. And I check BBC and it still says 0. Right. Interesting. Well, see, this is the thing around Spa. It is, there's apparently like lots of different microclimates. Like, I'm not a geographist, meteorologist, but apparently there are loads of different microclimates. The circuit, of course, itself is very, very spaced apart from one end of the circuit all the way to the other end. You've got about, I think it's 3 kilometers or so from La Source all the way up to turn number 7, or maybe a little bit less than 3 kilometers actually. But either way, it is, you have some corners that are wet, some corners that are dry, and I guess we'll just have to keep our eyes peeled for if there is any rain that's going to arrive. I will pull up I'm watching the coverage right now of the reconnaissance laps, and some of these clouds do look slightly ominous. I can't, say for a certain that it's going to rain, but they do look like they've got some potential in them. Yeah, there's definitely a few dark clouds here and there. Not all of them, but they're just showing a shot of it right now, and maybe. Actually, you know what? Let's get rid of this no rain expected. Let's go for 44% chance rain expected. 44%. Yeah, 44%. I think you guys will get that. Talk about the aura of Stroll qualifying in 22nd position, getting a 10-place penalty and still starting in P20. Yeah, it's a nice job there done by Stroll. It's just a sort of a effect of everyone taking their grid penalties at the same circuit. It sort of cancels themselves out. If the teams wanted to collude in that sort of manner, you could have everyone qualify totally normally, and then everyone takes a 10-place grid penalty, and they would all start in the exact same position. But yeah, the teams can barely agree on anything, so they're definitely not going to be doing that. All right. I should probably switch this over to race mode. Here we go. Right. And there you can see the speeds as well. The speeds that the drivers are hitting down the straights and such. How to watch the streams using a VPN. It's Proton VPN, then Austrian VPN server, and then Service TV Formula 1. You'll be able to get the coverage synced up with what's going on the screen, and then it'll be fine. Okay. What happened to Hadjar? He had a 30-place grid penalty. Lando Norris had a grid penalty. Carlos Sainz also. Stroll also. Alonso also. Lots of grid penalties taken today here in Spa. Sports Edits X. I did have a look at your channel, and I'll send you I'll drop a comment or something later on. With the rain, the battery seems to recharge way faster as it's consumed in a straight. That means anyone can win the race? That is true. The drivers spend an awful lot less time on the throttle and a lot more time on the brakes in wet conditions, and for that reason, the battery problem is not as it's not as strenuous, it's not as limiting, and hence, if your recharge procedure is not as amazing as what the Mercedes is, or not as good as what the McLaren's is, then you still have got a chance. So, who knows? If it starts raining, Fernando Alonso P1, definitely going to happen today. The clouds are looking rather ominous here, ladies and gentlemen. As a certified person that lives in the UK, I can tell you with the fact that those clouds look like they might drop some rain? They might precipitate. Okay, 27 minutes away from the start of the race now, and I suspect most drivers starting on medium tyres. Another thing to point out, Arvin Lindblad had a really, really good qualifying session yesterday, and he has got upgrades on his car. So upgrades on Arvin Lindblad's car, and in the first sector actually he was quicker than Antonelli. He was the quickest driver in the first sector in the whole of qualifying yesterday. So of course the part of that will be that they're deploying a little bit more battery than everyone else down the straight, but I also think that their upgrades have worked fantastically, and the Red Bull engineers will now be looking to copy that because, the Red Bull power unit and the Racing Bulls power unit, exact same power unit, and that means the cooling systems and the inlet design and side pod design and this, that and the other is very much transferable and applicable. So I suspect the Red Bull engineers have got some designs to start copying. Of course, they can't get the 3D cameras like Tracing Point, and so I don't know if you guys actually know this, but Racing Point, when they were, in 2020 or in 2019, they had 3D cameras, and they literally just took scans of the Mercedes front wing and literally just duplicated the parts, which was honestly quite an incredible move. Just incredible confidence. And of course, they didn't even get penalized for it. Of course, they banned 3D cameras later on, but yeah, pretty innovative, I've got to say, from Racing Point back in the day. Of course, they've got a very limited budget then, and they managed to have such good performances after a little bit of copying, shall we say. And Red Bull, of course, will not be able to just get the design files from Racing Bulls. There are limitations between what teams can communicate, but they will be able to just look at the design and figure out how it works. Right. Is it possible to add P21 to P5? What do you mean? Looks like we've got a few yellow flags on the circuit. That'll just be gravel, to be honest. The marshals will be doing their best to keep the circuit clear of gravel. We did have a red flag actually yesterday during qualifying for gravel on the circuit. So we'll see what race control decide to do about that, because I think it's quite common that it's turn number 9, at turn number 14, at turn number 13 as well, we're going to see a little bit of gravel kicked up inevitably, right? Maybe it might be on the opening lap, it might be someone battling, but there will be gravel kicked up. So are they going to deploy a VSC for gravel? Are they going to do a safety car? Are they just going to let it be? Yeah, I guess we'll have to just sort of wait and see. Because the thing is, right, if you do have a puncture, if you drive over some really sharp gravel and you have a puncture going on the exit at turn number 9, and then you turn into poo-on with a puncture on your car, then things can go pretty horribly wrong. But I think the gravel will be... They do actually pick specific types of gravel, so it's got to be a certain size, got to be a certain shape. It can't be too pointy, and yeah, so I think in that regard, the teams will probably be fine. I think the FIA have got that covered. Right, let's go for a flying lap of the circuit, shall we? So, in through the bus stop chicane you go, looking to get as good of an exit as possible. And just another thing here, you have got, as you can see, the driver on pole position actually has the inside line, as far as I can tell. Let's just rewind here. So you're making your way down the start-finish straight here, and let's just pause it. Yeah, it seems like the driver on pole position has the inside line, which is the dirty side of the grid, but of course they can then defend into turn number 1, prevent a dive bomb. So you'll probably see it'll be Antonelli, Russell, Hamilton, all of the drivers with odd numbers there on the right-hand side, with the inside line in towards turn number 1 with the opportunity to send a dive bomb, and then you'll have the other drivers on... the other side of the circuit, which there isn't a clear, clean side of the dirty side of the circuit, because the final corner you exit on the right-hand side, and then your entry into turn number 1 is on the left-hand side. So the ideal racing line is just sort of diagonally across, which means there isn't a clear, clean side of the circuit. But yes, the run into turn number 1, very, very short. Of course, we've seen loads of crashes here in the past. We'll see if the drivers can keep it clean or whether we're going to get some sort of contact. But this is the key thing, right? You head up the hill through Eau Rouge, 27.3 meters of elevation change as the drivers go over this hill, and then, well, you drop your front wing, you drop your rear wing, you tuck into the slipstream, you press the overtake button, and then you pray that the battery doesn't run out and you can pull off an overtake. Of course, Antonelli will be using all of his battery to defend, Max Verstappen will be using all of his battery to overtake, but you're going to see at least a 10 kilometer per hour advantage for the driver that's tucked into the slipstream. If you are, 2 cars back, so, if you're George Russell in 3rd position, if you get a double slipstream, that will probably be 15 kilometers per hour. So there's of course, you get this double slipstream effect and you can go 3 wide. 2018 Spa, we had drivers 4 wide in towards turn number 1. It was 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. All 4 of them were 4 wide going down the Camel Straight. Seb Vettel came out on top on that occasion, and I'm sure in the past few years as well, we've had occasions where we're 3 wide, 4 wide in towards the Les Combes chicane. Okay, and through turns number 5 and 6 you go. You haven't, look at this, like there's no margin for error here. There's gravel there right on the left, so at this point I think this would be the final corner, I'd say, where the drivers are going side by side, and then you start to go single file through the rest of this circuit, because this corner is so extremely long. If you do try and hang it around the outside, you just have incredible amounts of understeer and you're not going to get the overtake done. Then through turn number 9, very much single file. You've got gravel there on the exit, so you do have to be careful, can't kick up, can't go too wide, of course. And then through Puon you go. You've got lots of runoff there, but you're not pulling off an overtake in towards Puon, at least not on the opening lap. And if you do, of course, then we'll get another 130R like move. Through the second chicane, of course, it's a little bit tricky. We've seen Hamilton have issues, Gasly have issues. I think Norris just got away with it. Norris got away with it at the end of Q3, going through turn number 13. So quite the tricky corner there. We've seen 2 crashes already this weekend, and then of course you can have a tow if you can find a driver to give you a tow. You'll get a big old advantage, as we saw from Verstappen and Hadjar yesterday. Go through Blanchimont relatively easy in these cars, onto the brakes for the bus stop chicane, super late as possible, and then just, well, get a good exit, essentially, to go all over again. We'll have 44 laps of the circuit here, folks, 44 laps of racing, and it should be a one-stop race. Right. Have a bad feeling about Max's start. I mean, we'll see, right? In the practice starts in FP1, Max Verstappen did stall off the line. So, well, you would hope that Red Bull can learn from their mistakes. Oh, these clouds are looking very ominous indeed. So these are the clouds that are sort of towards where turn number 5, 6, 7, 8 are. In that sort of region, that's where the ominous clouds are right now. We'll see if anything happens. But yes, I would hope that Red Bull learn from their mistakes, and whatever happened with the car in FP1, which caused Verstappen to stall, that they would come with some sort of fix. Okay. What else have we got here? 44 laps, that's an awfully small amount compared to something like Monaco. Well, the way that the lap count works is that it's always 300 kilometers of racing, so Spa is just one of the longer circuits on the calendar, and that's why we have less number of laps. Okay. Tyre strategy today, it'll be mediums to hards, pit around lap number 25, I think, or even a little bit less than that, to be honest. Yeah. Oh, there we go. We've hit 249k, so not long now. 990 subscribers left, folks, till we hit 250k. Who do I have winning the World Cup? I think that it's going to, and Spain is going to win it, but we'll see. Oh yeah, the bronze final yesterday. I mean, that was, England were 4-0 up, and I was like, oh, it's half time, right? I'm just going to turn it off. There's no need to watch the rest of it. And then I looked at my phone, and then it was 4-2, and I was like, right, I've got to put this back on again. And yeah, it was a crazy match. All right. It's Service TV to watch the coverage today, folks. Service TV. There you go. Right. Yeah, I don't know why we're getting these random yellow flags just show up on the screen. A little bit strange, to be honest, but should be fine. Someone asked a question and now I can't find it. That's fine. Right. So what else do I want to go through? Just quickly through the rest of the data. Oh no, wrong button. Here we go. this is how the this is how Colapinto and Sainz showed up to the start of the race. So, sorry, this is how they showed up to the circuit today. But yeah, this is the main thing: tire strategy, right? Start the race on the mediums, onto the hards. So every single driver, okay, not every single driver with the exception of the Audi team and the Cadillac team have got 2 fresh sets of hard tires and 1 fresh set of mediums, and the Audi team and the Cadillac team have got 2 fresh sets of mediums and only 1 fresh set of hards. So that's what the tyre situation is looking like for the race. In terms of soft tyres, everyone's got used soft tyres that they used in qualifying, and they'll have 1 or 2 laps completed on them, which will be more than fine to use, if there's a safety car with 5 laps left to go or something like that. Yeah. Someone had asked what game was it when I for this recording. This is the F121 game. So I'm still driving the F121 game, but that's all right, really, isn't it? Right, I'm going to pop on slow mode onto the chat. Thanks everyone for tuning in, by the way. We've got 5,000, 6,000 people tuned in to the coverage. Much, much appreciated. If you are enjoying the coverage as well, then be sure to hit the like button. It really does help out the channel, as always. Will we see the Aston Martin making upgrades when they fighting for points with the Hungary upgrade package? I mean, maybe, but it's tough to say. It's tough to say. They theoretically should be fighting for a few points, maybe, if things go right, but yeah, we have no idea, to be honest. Race Control has just come and updated our rain percentage figure, and they have said 10% chance of rain, unfortunately, folks. So it looks like Race Control, I suspect their radar's a little bit more accurate, considering that they've got specialized equipment to work out whether it's going to rain or not. So it seems like the chance of rain has been dropped down a little bit to 10%. However, track temperature is tumbling, ladies and gentlemen. 27 degrees track temperature now. So super duper cold. And so that means strategy number 5 here, where you start the race on the mediums and then go on to the softs, might actually be the better way forward, because, well, you're not going to get as much tyre wear, so you might as well go for the faster tyres. Will there be a lot of VSC and safety car periods through the race? Well, we haven't had a VSC at Spa in the last 8 years, actually. We have had safety cars 4 times in the last 8 years, but no VSC for that matter. So if history is anything to go by, yeah, maybe a safety car. Right. What was I going to do? How to watch the race? The chances of rain are high, are they? Well, I mean, this is the thing with Spa. You just don't know where to look for the weather radar. Because I look at one of them, and one of them says 0%. Right, let me recheck what Google says. So Google, initially, when I checked earlier today, said 0, and then it said 15. And now if I check it again, now it is saying 15 again. So, I don't know. The Met Office saying sub 5%. Is always this with Spa. You just never know what the weather's going to be like. In terms of the betting odds and things like that, Kimi Antonelli 67% chance of winning this race. We've got Max Verstappen with 19, George Russell with 8% chance of winning, Hamilton with 3, Leclerc with 3. So I guess we'll wait and see. It's going to be pretty tight up at the front. 11 minutes left now, folks. What else is there to talk about? Again, we've got Behrman out qualifying Ocon. That is a pretty regular occurrence now. We have got Bortoletto out qualifying Hulkenberg, another regular occurrence. Gasly beats Colapinto, pretty standard stuff. Yeah, it's, you've had your typical set of drivers getting out qualified. I don't know really what they're going to do. I think Hulkenberg's race performances are good enough really to justify not worrying too much about Bortoletto out qualifying him. I think for Ocon, there's I think his security at the Haas team is slightly less secure than Hulkenberg at Audi, but yeah, I'll just have to see. Haas, of course, do want someone with experience and knows how to develop a car and things like that. But Behrman's a quick learner, and maybe they'll be able to find someone else. Maybe Yuki Tsunoda will be an option for Haas. It's tough to say. Also, folks, just a reminder. I don't know how many of you have been, up to date with what's been going on after qualifying finished, but George Russell and Toto Wolff have both come out and said that George Russell and Toto Wolff have both come out and said that there's an issue with George Russell's power unit, and it's costing him 3/10 worth of lap time down the straights. So it has been confirmed it's not really a driving style thing. They have worked through, according to George Russell, they've worked through, numerous different solutions. They've tried different driving styles. They've tried different engine modes and mapping techniques and this, that, and the other, and nothing has worked. And there seems to be a fundamental issue with Russell's power unit. And I would just like to point out that Antonelli has got a newer power unit than George Russell, so that could be a factor, right? The parts are just more worn down on Russell's power unit, so that's causing some inefficiencies and losses here and there. But Russell has got something wrong with his power unit. Mercedes yet to diagnose exactly what the problem is, but Toto Wolff and Russell have both come out and said it, which gives it quite a lot of credibility. Right. New power unit grid penalty. Yes, so we have got grid penalties for Norris. That's why he was up in third position, dropped down into 13th. We've also got grid penalties for Hadjar, for Sainz, for Stroll, for Alonso. And that is why they are at the bottom of the pack. Right, folks, if you want to watch the coverage, it's Proton VPN. The link's in the description. Service TV is where you want to go. We're getting a few radio checks coming through here, drivers just making sure that everything is working as expected. And these clouds are just getting darker and darker. I don't know what race control is talking about. To be honest, race control, typically their decisions aren't very good. So why would we trust their weather radar? I mean, look, we'll wait and see what the radio messages are. Right, the radio message is typically very, very accurate. The drivers are saying, "Oh, we've got Class 2 rain in 12 minutes at turn number 4 or something like that." But we'll see what they say over the radio, and I'll keep you guys posted, of course. If Service TV doesn't work, you can try SRF, so Swiss VPN server, and then SRF. How many power units can a team change before receiving a grid penalty? I think last year it was 3. This year they've upped it to 4 because it's a new regulation set. But it's not just a power unit as a whole. There's internal components, so you can have 3 new batteries, but only 2 new ECUs, and you can have 4 new internal combustion engines or something like that. So I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head. I'd have to check the documents. Okay. Yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in, folks. Much appreciated. Not long now till we get underway for the beginning of the race. We'll have the formation lap, of course, in 7 minutes time, and then once the formation lap is done, we'll be getting underway for the race very, very shortly. Won't everyone need to replace the batteries since they naturally degrade? Yeah, they will. They can, of course, do different things to try and prevent the battery from degrading too much. So I'm sure many of you are aware, if you want to preserve your phone battery to last a very long time, ideally you don't let it charge all the way up to 100% and you don't let it discharge all the way down to 0. So what the teams can do is, for example, they can get a battery that is 5 kilowatts but only use 3 kilowatts of the actual capacity. So the car's minimum is actually 20% of the battery's charge, and then the car's maximum is 80% of the battery's charge. So you can reduce the degradation of the battery in that sense. Of course, if you can keep the battery cool, that will help as well. So there are loads of different things that the teams can do, but I do think that batteries are one of the things that are failing quite often, especially in McLaren. They've had quite a few issues with their batteries, and as a result, they've been replaced quite often. Why didn't Russell get a new engine? Russell had, because Antonelli got an engine failure more recently, right? So Russell had his one in Canada, Antonelli had one after that. So that's why Russell's got an older power unit. It's not, like as many people would love for you guys to believe that it's rigged or or it's sabotage for George Russell. It's just the way that these teams work. They're not going to replace a power unit for no reason and send Russell right to the back. Like, sure, if there's an issue with his power unit, even if he is 0.3 slower, which I agree is of course a very big margin, compared to the rest of the teams, Russell will probably still finish on the podium, and that'll be 18 points to his name, 15 points to his name. If he then takes a grid penalty, replaces every single component in the engine, and then drops himself back down to 22nd, then how many points is he going to score? Is he going to find himself up at the top? So it's a points game, right? And the team, I think, will run with this power unit and then replace it maybe in Hungary. Hungary, of course, very hot circuit, so maybe you want to replace it after, maybe you want to replace it beforehand. We'll wait and see. But either way, tyre information has come through. Everyone's starting on fresh tyres. The majority of the drivers on mediums. We have got Norris on hards. We've got Bottas and Sainz on softs. Perez, Stroll, Hadjar and Alonso on hards, and everyone else is on mediums. So there you go, the top 10 at least. They're all going to be starting on the same tyre, so different warm-up procedures, of course, different number of burnouts, different amounts of weaving left and right and things like that to build up the tyre temperature, but they've all got the same compound off the line. Okay. Right. So, welcome along, ladies and gentlemen, to round number 10 of the Formula One season in 2026. We are at Spa-Francorchamps, 44 laps of racing today at a circuit that is 7 kilometers long. We've got huge amounts of elevation change here at Spa. You go up the hill through Eau Rouge all the way towards turn number 7, then you start barreling down the hill through the middle sector, and then we've got the Pirelli compound tyres. We've got the C4, the C3, the C2 for our soft, medium and hard tyres respectively, and potentially a little bit of rain on the way, so we may even see the inters be used. 3 minutes now till we get underway for the formation lap, and we shall go from the bottom of the grid. Fernando Alonso, of course, his aim for today is to get home and to watch the World Cup final between Spain and Argentina. He does not care what happens in today's race. He might as well just DNF and retire on lap number 1. He's waiting for the upgrade package that arrives in Hungary. Isaac Hadjar, big grid penalty for him, but he did do his job. He did his job of giving Max Verstappen a huge tow coming out of turn number 15 and securing Max Verstappen with P2. So job well done for Isaac Hadjar, and he is now going to be looking to recover some positions after that grid penalty. Lance Stroll qualified in 22nd position, but ends up starting the race in 20th, even though he has taken some grid penalties. Hard tyres for him, and again, just another race to survive until the upgrade package survives in Hungary. Arrives in Hungary, not survives in Hungary. Then we've got Carlos Sainz, new power unit components for him. That's a new ECU to help for better battery deployment and stuff like that. So starting on the soft tyres for him, we'll see how that plays out for the Spaniard. Of course, he also wants to watch that World Cup final. We've got Sergio Perez there in 18th position, starting alongside Valtteri Bottas in 17th. Hard tyres for Perez, soft tyres for Valtteri Bottas. Then we go up towards Esteban Ocon. It's medium tyres for him, and the same thing can be said for Albon. Ocon gets out qualified by Behrman yet again, a bit suboptimal for the Frenchman. Behrman up into 14th place, medium tyres for him. We've got Lando Norris on hards, starting in 13th. He's going to be going long in the first stint and hoping to put on some softs maybe at the end of the race to make up some places. Then you've got Nico Hülkenberg in 12th position. The Audi looking to score some points today. They're looking very strong relative to a few weekends ago, and the Alpines 10th and 11th position for Gasly and Colapinto. We'll see how it works for those guys. Very much on the cusp of points, but if Hadjar can make his way up through the field, if Norris can make their way up through the field, then points might be a little bit harder to come by. Then we've got Liam Lawson, 9th position for him. He's got the old version of the car for the Racing Bulls team. Arvin Lindblad has got the new upgrades, and Lindblad definitely using those upgrades to his advantage. He was the quickest driver in sector number 1 in qualifying yesterday. He has got some serious pace under his belt, and we'll see what he can do in the race today. Gabriel Bortoletto starts the race in 8th position. We've got Piastri in 6th position, after getting out-qualified by his teammate yet again. Bit unfortunate for the Aussie, and we'll see if he can find himself up on the podium today. The McLaren has certainly got the pace for it. Ferrari drivers, Hamilton having a big crash at the end of FP3, didn't set him up correctly for qualifying, and Charles Leclerc mistook a yellow flag that was in the pit lane for a yellow flag on the circuit, and that resulted in a bad Q3 lap for Charles Leclerc. So he has also got a little bit more pace left in the tank. Then we've got George Russell in P3. He's, of course, down on horsepower, down on speed in the straight line department, and that's a Mercedes power unit issue. So we'll see, what he can salvage of this race. Max Verstappen with a very good qualifying lap and a very nice toe that he got off Isaac Hadjar yesterday to secure second position. And then Kimi Antonelli getting pole by 0.3 of a second. He's just simply unstoppable, this guy. We'll see if Max can do anything in towards turn number 5. He's going to be trying for the biggest slipstream of his life, but Antonelli will be looking in his mirrors and will be trying his hardest to hold off the Dutchman. Okay, folks, if you do want to watch the coverage, again, quick reminder, Service TV and an Austrian VPN. If that doesn't work, then you can get a Swiss VPN and SRF. That will work as well. But let's get going for the formation lap. Everyone just weaving left and right, getting everything sorted, and brake temperatures, tyre temperatures, clutch settings dialed in, engine modes put into the correct settings, and let's go racing, ladies and gents. Okay, medium tyres for everyone. So quick reminder of the strategy. Let me just pop up the strategy on the screen. Here we go. So start the race on the medium tyres. We're looking at pit stops between lap number 17 and 23 for the medium tyres, probably before 23 to be honest with you guys. And then the drivers starting on the soft, we'll see them pit before lap number 20. The drivers on the hard tyres will be pitting after lap number 24, 25. That is what we're looking at. This is the formation lap, ladies and gentlemen. The clouds, a little bit of an under prediction. However, Antonelli has come over the radio. Antonelli's engineer has come over the radio, said nothing to worry about. The radar is clear. However, Alonso's come over the radio, or Alonso's engineer has come over the radio saying light rain, very light rain. So here we are, and Arvin Lindblad has been told they've got a light drizzle in the pit lane, 3 burnouts. They've got a drizzle in the pit lane here, ladies and gentlemen, and supposedly more rain arriving in 15 minutes' time. Track temperature is down to 29 degrees Celsius. It's the coldest it's been all weekend long, and well, that's going to be very, very exciting, and that'll be affecting the tyre wear and things like that. But more rain on the way, folks. More rain on the way. All right. Also, I did see a few messages about my my mic buffering and things like that. I've seemed to confirm that it is coming from YouTube. YouTube's having some problems with their servers and things like that. Sometimes the stream might buffer for like 2 or 3 seconds. Sometimes the audio might cut out a little bit. But yeah, hopefully that can get resolved and there's not too many problems going ahead. 22,000 people tuned into the live stream. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. If you haven't subscribed, be sure to do that. We were very close to 250k. We've now got our final few drivers lining up towards their grid positions, and here you go. That is Fernando Alonso on the hard tyres doing some very nice burnouts and a little bit of a drift there as he lines himself up into the 22nd grid position. We have got the green flag waving. Kimi Antonelli's pointed his car over to the left to try and chop off Max Verstappen ASAP, and the engines are all revving up. They're building up the RPMs. The turbos are spooling up. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. It is lights out and away we go. A very good start for Antonelli. And George Russell looking to the inside of Max Verstappen as they go into La Source. Great turn number 1. It seems like everyone gets away with no to minimal contact, and Antonelli loses the position in towards Eau Rouge. Is this a 200 IQ move, because he's now tucked into the slipstream of Max Verstappen as they go down the Kemmel Straight? Kimi Antonelli to the inside. Max Verstappen has got no slipstream. He uses all of the battery that he can, but we've got Charles Leclerc. Leclerc up into second position. What a start from Charles Leclerc, and someone's off. Is that Russell? Russell is off at the start of the race. He's beached in the gravel. That's going to have to be a safety car. Double yellow flags are out. Russell's beached. He stopped at the side of the circuit, and Norris up into 9th position. We've got a lot of positions gained by a few of these drivers. Colapinto up into 8th, and George Russell in the gravel right now. Antonelli leads, Leclerc second, Max Verstappen third. Leclerc certainly had the pace to get second position in quali, and he's managed to recover it on the opening lap of this race. He's positioned his car perfectly going down the Kemmel Straight, and up into second place is Charles Leclerc. But George Russell, we've got more yellow flags the whole way down the Kemmel Straight now. Surely that's a VSC. I mean, how long does it take to deploy a VSC, guys? Like, Russell is in a gravel trap, to be honest. I don't know what's happened with Russell. Was there contact? Did he spin? Right, there we go. Safety car is out, ladies and gentlemen. Safety car is out. This is going to be very, very exciting. The restart on the safety car, because we saw this last year. It was Piastri that breezed past Norris on the restart at Spa last year behind the safety car, and then went on to win the race. So yeah, we could see that happen again. We could see Leclerc breeze past Antonelli, but Ocon has stopped at the side of the circuit, and so has... Oh no, Ocon's not stopped. Ocon's continuing on very, very slowly behind. But George Russell has got out of the car. Safety car's out for him. And... What is that? Yeah, Ocon is... The bottom of his car is scraping the ground, so it seems like there's got to be some sort of suspension damage or something like that. We'll see if he goes into the pit lane or what goes on there. There's a recovery vehicle on the circuit, so there's a tractor there right now to pick up George Russell's car. And of course, we've got drivers into the pits. Who's that? Behrman, Hadjar, Perez into the pit lane. These drivers, what tyres were they on? It was mediums for Behrman, it was hards for Hadjar, hards for Perez, softs for Bottas, and now they're all coming into the pits to change tyres. And what's this? Isaac Hadjar comes out on a set of mediums. What's he trying to do here? Is he trying to go the whole race on one set of medium tyres? I mean, look, he's starting right at the back. He might as well try some ridiculous strategy. It's going to be quite the tough one, to be honest. Track temperature is low, so that's in his favour, but we'll wait and see. The rest of the drivers, of course, Behrman started the race on the mediums. He's now out on the hards. It's very possible to do the entire race on a set of hards here at Spa, especially with the speeds that we're going through Pouhon and Blanchimont. I mean, it's like a Formula 2 car. These tyres will very much be able to cope with that. Perez is out on soft tyres. It looks like Cadillac are just doing a bit more pre-season testing, to be honest. A new free practice 4 session for these guys. Bottas on hards, and so is Ocon. Okay. Mediums will help with the drizzle, yeah. I mean, we haven't got any confirmations over race control about the track surface being slippery or anything like that, but we have had a few radio messages, of course, indicating that it is raining and such, so I guess let's wait and see. We got 26,000 people tuned into the live stream. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, be sure to do so. If you are enjoying the coverage, of course, be sure to subscribe. And Oh, be sure to hit the like button, sorry, that's what I meant to say. And, well, we'll be getting a safety car restart very, very soon. It's not going to take too long to clear up George Russell's car. We're not, of course, haven't got to let lapped cars by or anything like that. And the rest of the bunch is catching up to the safety car. All right. So here is the replay then. We've got Lewis Hamilton, and he's going in towards Les Combes. Very, very late on the brakes is Lewis Hamilton. We've got George Russell around the outside, and contact between Hamilton and Russell. Russell... I mean, look, if you go back to 2022 and Fernando Alonso and Hamilton had contact at the start of the race, and Alonso said over the radio, oh, this guy only knows how to race starting in first position. It was a very, very similar contact to that sort of... very, very similar to that sort of incident. But yeah, Hamilton comes over the radio saying the car cut across me, across the racing lines, this, that, and the other. And I'm sure Russell will have some things to say as well. But at the end of the day, Russell's the one that's retired. Hamilton may have some very, very minor damage, but nothing major by the looks of it. Thanks for the donation there, LJ the man. Very much appreciated. Hope everyone's well. Go Red Bull and Racing Bulls. Stay safe. Yeah, we'll... Oh, and this is Ocon. Ocon just went off into the gravel. I think he just locked his brakes, and you've got no margin for error at turn number 14. The gravel trap's right there, and he off into the gravel that he went. Yeah. Okay, still behind the safety car here, folks. If you do want to watch the coverage, quick reminder, it's Proton VPN. Links in the description. Go onto an Austrian VPN server, search Servers TV, and you can watch the coverage there. Fastest lap of the race here for Fernando Alonso. We're so back, ladies and gents. It's win number 33 here, confirmed. Spain are going to win the World Cup final. Job done. Isaac Hadjar into the pits again. What's going on? Oh, okay. Okay. So they're going hard to medium to hard. And now for a fact, you can go on the hard tyres right till the end of the race. This is a known thing in Spa. The tyres don't wear out that much. Hard tyres will be able to do it. So Hadjar has done 2 pit stops. He's done his mandatory thing on 2 sets of tyres, 2 different tyre compounds, right? He's done 1 lap on a set of medium tyres. It satisfies the regulations. Now he is set to go right till the end of the race on the same compound of tyre. Does Hamilton have a penalty? Don't think so. No. And it has been noted, turn 6 incident between Hamilton and Russell noted for causing a collision. So I guess we'll see. Okay. Yeah, here we are behind the safety car. Still just following the safety car around, to be honest. The drivers, I'm sure, will be complaining about the safety car being a little bit too slowly, but lots of people over the radio now. Isaac Hadjar asks about rain. Carlos Sainz asks about rain over on the radio as well. So there you can see that the drivers, of course, are concerned. We've got Valtteri Bottas has a few drops at Sector 1. Expect it to get heavier in a few minutes. Expect it to get heavier. Yes, let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Heavier rain in Sector number 1. Woohoo. Right. Very, very nice. We are going to have a great race at Spa. The weather is always so unpredictable here. I mean, some weather radars were saying 0% chance of rain, some saying 15, some saying 44. It looks like our hopes have come true. Right. And track has been declared clear at Sector 7, so that is where George Russell... So it seems like George Russell's car's been picked up. They've got the tractor off the circuit as well and everything like that. They're now just going to make sure all the gravel that Ocon brought onto the circuit at turn number 14 and 15, that's going to get cleared up, and then we're going to get underway for some racing, ladies and gentlemen. Also, the fact that we've now been behind the safety car for so long means that there is going to be absolutely no fuel issues for any of the drivers for the rest of this race. We've done, I think, what's it now, 3 laps behind the safety car, so yeah, nobody's going to have any sort of fuel problems, and then yeah, it's going to be an all-out attack, at least from the power unit department, at least from the internal combustion engine department. We don't know about the battery side of things. Alonso up 7 places. Yes, of course he is, but you do have to keep in mind that, well, there was a DNF for George Russell, and then there are 5 drivers behind him that came into the pit lane, so that's probably why Alonso's up 7 places. Right. Safety car is in this lap, ladies and gentlemen. Safety car in this lap. We've just got the message over race control, so we are racing. Okay, now watch out for this, right? So Antonelli is going to be weaving left and right to try and keep as much tire temperature as possible. However, Charles Leclerc, he cannot afford to do that, because if he is weaving left and right, when Antonelli inevitably does decide to straighten out the car and absolutely go for the throttle, what's going to happen is Leclerc's probably going to be mid-weaving, and he's going to be pointing in the wrong direction, and if he tries to get the power down, he's going to get too much wheel spin, and he's going to get a lot of problems. So Antonelli will continue on weaving left and right. Charles Leclerc, however, will now be watching the back of Antonelli very, very closely to see when is this guy about to accelerate, when's he going to hit the throttle pedal. And while all of that is happening, Leclerc's tyres are cooling down. So, Leclerc can't do too much weaving because he runs the risk that Antonelli's just going to drive off into the distance. But we'll wait and see. We'll see if Antonelli, of course, tries the same thing that he did on Verstappen, right? Let Leclerc by through Eau Rouge, re-overtake him in towards turn number 5. Or are we going to see Leclerc hit the brakes? He's like, oh, no, you can go in front of me through Eau Rouge. I don't want to overtake you here. I'll overtake you at turn number 5. Let's wait and see what happens. But safety car is ending, and it looks like Antonelli is gone. Antonelli's gone nice and early, and Verstappen has been caught napping a little bit. Look at that huge gap from Verstappen to Leclerc, and there's a few drivers looking up the inside. You can't make an overtake until you cross the start-finish line, so everyone just lining up the overtakes in towards La Source. Here you go. Kimi Antonelli, 9/10 already ahead of Charles Leclerc. That was a very good bust-up chicane for the Italian. And up the inside you go for Lewis Hamilton on Oscar Piastri. He makes the overtake at La Source, but is it going to last? That's the thing. Both of them have got the Macarena wing. Oscar Piastri goes round the outside through Eau Rouge. Incredible move by Oscar Piastri. Very, very similar to his fellow Australian Mark Webber, which he pulled off in 2012. Hamilton now going to try for the re-overtake as they go through La Source, but Piastri, I think, has just got this one secured as they go, not into La Source, into Les Combes. Very, very nicely done. Okay. And up at the front, Kimi Antonelli, 1 point. He's already broken overtake. He's already 1 second clear. Is this a raindrop? This is a raindrop that I see on the camera. There's a raindrop on the camera, ladies and gents. Sector number 2, there's rain has arrived. At least a singular raindrop has arrived. We'll wait and see how much more heavy rain that we get. It seems to be rather light. Wherever it is falling, it's not the heaviest thing in the world. Okay, and there you go. Isaac Hadjar, fastest lap of the race, a 2:28. And he gets the overtake done on Fernando Alonso. Nicely done there by Isaac Hadjar. Swift progress up through the field on his hard compound tyres. All right, Leclerc has managed to reel in Antonelli through the latter stages of sector number 2. The gap now down to 0.8 of a second. However, Verstappen is only 0.4 behind Charles Leclerc. So this is going to get very, very interesting as they go through the bust-up chicane now onto the throttle. And it's a good exit there for Verstappen. Tucked right in and a fastest lap of the race as well. A very good final sector. And now Charles Leclerc has got his mirrors full of a charging bull. We'll see what Verstappen can do. Is he going to try and make an overtake into Eau Rouge? Antonelli's 1.4 seconds clear, and here comes Max Verstappen through Eau Rouge. He doesn't pull it off there, and now tucked right in. No Macarena wing for the Red Bull on this occasion. Leclerc goes defensive, Verstappen to the outside, and well, rather straightforward overtake, to be honest. I'm not going to try and make it out to be some incredible move. You press the overtake button, and he got the overtake done. And Max Verstappen back up into second position. Right, we'll see if he can keep Antonelli any closer, right? He basically breezed past Charles Leclerc. We know that Verstappen is quicker in Sector 2, right? We know the Mercedes is quicker in the straight lines. In Sector number 2, where the downforce matters, that's where the Red Bull, that's where the Red Bull and the Ferrari start to shine. Verstappen trying to close that gap up. The gap was 1.2, it's now down to 1, and there's got a few more corners remaining in Sector number 2. It's down to 9/10. Verstappen gaining huge chunks in the second sector, but will he be able to hold on to it in Sector number 3? That's the question. You've got the speeds here, folks. You can have a look. What speeds are the drivers hitting? And Antonelli is going up and up in the speed chart. You can see 310, 312, and Verstappen's going 320. So he is gaining down through sector number 3, but how many laps consistently can he try and chase down Antonelli? Let's just wait and see. Okay, why did Hadjar pit? Hadjar's going for stick on some hard tyres and drive for the entire race strategy. So he's done one lap on the medium tyres. He's satisfied the regulations, which dictate you need to use 2 different tyre compounds. And now he's using the hard tyres right till the end of the race. Max Verstappen, fast lap of the race there, and that is 8 tenths quicker than Antonelli on the previous lap. All right. Look at the gap there. Look at the gap from Hadjar to Cadillac and Aston Martin. It's just that gap is enormous, and the safety car came in like 3 laps ago, and look at how big the gap already is. I mean, it's totally in a different league, to be honest. Did Hamilton get a penalty? Nothing has come through on race control here, folks. So it was noted. It never went under investigation. There's been no penalty that's come out of it, so it's just been noted. So I'll keep you guys posted. There was contact between Hamilton and Russell. Russell ended up in the gravel, got beached, couldn't make it out, and that was the end of his race. Rain updates. I mean, I'd suggest you guys just keep your eyes peeled on the radios, but it doesn't seem like there's a huge amount. On a few camera shots here and there, you can see on Hamilton's camera there was a raindrop that just went by there, but it's not huge amounts. I think all that it's doing is just lowering track temperature, right? It brought track temperature down from 35 down to now 28 degrees Celsius. So it's cooling down the circuit, essentially. Antonelli goes purple in the middle sector. Antonelli has not got anywhere near the amount of downforce that Verstappen has, but somehow purple in the middle sector. And that is a very nice overtake there actually, we're getting some nice battling here between the McLarens. Lando Norris, purple in the final sector, and we've got Piastri versus Leclerc versus Hamilton, a 3-way fight for 3rd position. Let's see what Oscar can do. Let's see what Hamilton can do. Can he close up? I don't think Hamilton's got any sort of major damage by the looks of it. His car seems to be doing totally fine. And Antonelli now, Piastri is tucked right in. You can see the flashing lights on the back of the Ferrari, and it's a neck and neck drag race down the start finish line. Who's going to be later on the brakes as they go into? Oh, it's a little lockup from one of the Ferraris, and Piastri, under a lot of pressure from Hamilton there, just manages to hold on through turn number 7, and now he goes down the hill. Not a lot of margin for error like for lockups like that, but just Charles Leclerc managed to hold on. I don't know if it was a lockup or if there was just a little bit of wheel banging that kicked up some smoke, but yeah, purple sector number 1, because Hamilton got a double slipstream, a slipstream off Leclerc and a slipstream off Piastri with a bit of overtake mode, and he's gone purple in the first sector. Okay, yeah, it seems like it was probably wheel banging rather than that. And yeah, Piastri says, "Oh, we didn't leave enough space. That could have been a massive crash." And I think, what's this yellow flag? Yellow flag at turn number 5 and 6. There was, a little bit of contact, of course, between Piastri and Leclerc, but it didn't seem like any carbon fibre flew anywhere. So we've got yellow flag, it's been cleared up. Okay, so there was, I suspect, a little piece of debris. They've picked it up, and we're back to green flag. Right. Well, now through the bus-stop chicane they go. Looks like the map's glitching out a little bit, but in the middle sector, Antonelli goes purple again. This guy hasn't got a downforce setup. He's got a top speed setup, and somehow he can still go purple in the middle sector. Like, what is going on with this Mercedes today? Antonelli doing an incredible job driving up at the front, and he's got clean air, of course, which helps with this tyre wear and things like that. But yeah, you've got to hand it to the guy. He's driving it absolutely exceptionally. Like, there's very little flaws that you can find in his driving. Okay, Hamilton now really gaining huge amounts here on Piastri as they go in towards turn number 5. Piastri goes defensive, and Hamilton just breezes by. Another overtake button, another mushroom overtake, to be honest. I've just joined because what have I missed? You've missed that Hamilton had contact, but apart from that, not a huge amount. We've had some nice racing up at the front between Piastri and the 2 Ferrari cars. Yeah, and just getting a replay here. What went on? Yeah, there was a little piece of debris. It might have been Piastri's car rather than Leclerc's by the looks of it, but a little piece of the side pod, I think, from Piastri's car has been damaged. At least that's what it looked like on the replay. Oh, it's been noted. It's come over race control. Leclerc and Piastri have been noted for causing a collision. And Piastri, of course, said that Leclerc chopped across him. McLaren conveyed that to race control. It's now been noted. We'll see if there's any sort of investigation into that. Okay. Oh, this is Norris barging his way past Liam Lawson, and that 7th position there for Lando Norris as he makes his way through the bus stop chicane. Quick progress up through the field. Started in 13th position, now up into 7th. Very nicely done. Fastest lap of the race here from Lewis Hamilton. Antonelli, again, another purple middle sector. Great job from him. There's not much more that I can to say. Oh, Hamilton has been given a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision at the opening lap of the race. 5 seconds for his collision between himself and George Russell. Yeah. Well, there you go, ladies and gents. The FIA has struck again. You guys can have your own opinion of that. You can watch the replay back. It's very similar to the collision between Alonso and Hamilton at 2022, start of the race in Spa. So you want to check that replay out, see what happened there. But yeah, a 5-second penalty has been given out. I'm not gonna talk much past that. You guys can have your own decision about it. Yeah. So that'll be when Hamilton comes into the pit lane. He'll have to wait there for 5 seconds, then they'll change his tyres. Quick reminder, you're losing 19 seconds by coming into the pit, so if Antonelli was to pit right now, he would come out behind Isaac Hadjar. Of course, not an ideal situation to be coming out of. Ideally, he wants to come out in front of Lindblad would be ideal, but that's a little bit too wishful thinking. I'd say in front of Albon or if in front of Ocon if he can do it, so he's got a nice bit patch of clean air, essentially. That's what they're looking for. Right. Another purple middle sector for Antonelli. Bro, is his tyres not wearing out? Like, he's done 9 laps on these medium tyres. We know that tyre wear is relatively low around here in Spa, and of course it all gets offset by your fuel burning off and your car getting lighter and lighter. But yeah, incredible consistency from Antonelli, I've got to say. Sergio Perez with track limits going up through Eau Rouge and Radion, so that's the first track limit deletion for Sergio Perez. He's got to be careful, of course. Well, I guess he doesn't really have to be careful. Like, what's the FIA going to do if he exceeds track limit 5 times? Like, he's already not scoring any points. Okay, but yeah, we're on lap number 11 of 44, so the soft tyre runners the only soft tyre runner remaining will be Carlos Sainz, so he'll be pitting, I would expect, in about 5 or so laps, and yeah, they have got some damage on the car there for the McLarens. Let me just double check who that was. Piastri, they got some damage to the right-hand side floor. It's not huge, we're still in the race. That's what they say to Piastri over the radio, so yeah, there you go. Piastri, bit of damage after that contact with Charles Leclerc. It's under investigation right now. They've just sent the message over race control. So Leclerc and Piastri under investigation for causing a collision. We'll see if there is a penalty that gets dished out. Fernando Alonso also has exceeded track limits going through Eau Rouge and Radion. I guess Perez also has to come into the pit soon enough. 5 or 6 more laps, and those soft tyres will probably be done. Hadjar up 7 positions. Yeah, he's done of course, very, very nice job to make his way up through the field, and he's not really slowing down. I think next up, Hulkenberg, I think he'll get that overtake done in, the next 1 or 2 laps, to be honest. All right, still just light drizzles of rain everywhere. Nothing huge. So the rain has really calmed down, to be honest. Also, folks, if you are enjoying the coverage, then be sure to hit the like button if you would very much help out the channel, as I'm sure you guys are aware. And we are getting so close to 250k. So if you haven't hit the like button, if you haven't subscribed, then be sure to do so. I know that around 40% of you, around 60% of you aren't subscribed. 40% are. So it would mean a lot, of course. And Hamilton now closing up on Charles Leclerc into Ferrari rivalry. Here we go up through Radion, and both the Macarena wings flip around. Leclerc to the inside. Oh, that was very close. Hamilton nearly off onto the grass, and both of them now holding exactly the same top speed. It's almost like they've got the exact same power unit as they go down the straight. Charles Leclerc later on the brakes, and he hangs on by the finest of margins. I mean, it was so close between those guys, millimeters between them. All right, and Antonelli 2 seconds clear of Verstappen, and Piastri now in 5th, and Norris is closed up to the back of him. Norris started in 13th position, and, well, he's not close. Norris is still 7 seconds back, but in terms of position, he's only 1 behind. Okay. And here comes Antonelli. Oh, Anthony through the middle sector on this occasion was not purple. Seems like his tyres have finally worn out a little bit. He goes 3/10 slower than his personal best through sector number 2. Manfrey, thanks for the donation, buddy. How do I watch the race for $1 VPN? The $1 VPN is $9. I will check that out. The link should have been... I emailed the person at Proton VPN that I'm working with, and they told me it was fixed. So... yeah, but if you do have Proton VPN, it should be the Austrian VPN server, then Service TV, and then you can watch the coverage there. But yeah, I'll have a look into that and see if that gets sorted or not. But the link in the description is the only way to get it for $1. If you just go on Proton VPN's website, it'll be more expensive. Okay, Hamilton, round 2, as they go up through Eau Rouge, 27.3 metres elevation change for both of the cars. Huge compression, huge extension as the car goes a little bit light over the crest. And again, down the Kemmel Straight they go. Let's have a look at the top speeds. Hamilton going 19 kilometres per hour quicker through the slipstream, and then he tries it around the outside, and Leclerc just puts his car where he needs to put it. Hamilton, you can't go around the outside at turn number 5. It's too short of a corner, and it's too high speed to be making a move there. And Hamilton, yet another lap goes by, and he is stuck behind his fellow teammates. Okay, Leclerc and Piastri still under investigation for causing that collision, so we'll see what happens there, but race control taking their merry time. Hamilton over the radio saying, I'm quicker than Charles. Well, you know, I'm sure you are, buddy, but Ferrari aren't just going to swap you around. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, Ferrari, they haven't got their clear 1 and 2. They're also not fighting for titles, or race wins, so that clear 1 and 2 also is a little bit unnecessary right now to decide. But Hamilton is leading the championship, so maybe they'll go in that sort of regard and say that the championship leader is the one that gets the advantage. F1 Gamer, Eau Rouge is the kink leading uphill to Radion. Indeed it is. So turn number 2 there is Eau Rouge, then turn number 3 and 4, I guess, is Radion. Okay, Hadjar catching Bortoleto fast. Yeah, well, Hadjar overtook Hulkenberg rather quickly, as expected, and he'll close that gap up to Bortoleto ever so quickly. I mean, on the previous lap, he's a full second faster. So, yeah, give Hadjar a bit of clean air, and he is taking chunks out of Bortoleto's lap time. All right. Chosen Mal, thanks for the donation, and that's why Red Bull wins more than Ferrari. Yeah, you know, if you've got clear number 1 and 2, you can, of course, help your strategy department out and sacrifice one driver for another and things like that, but Ferrari are squabbling away over the radio, and Leclerc's being told, oh, you don't need to lift through turn number 15, you can carry a bit more speed through there. So drivers still being coached over where to turn and things like that. Arvin Lindblad has come over the radio and said he's still feeling a bit of understeer. It's quite interesting. He said this during, was it free practice 3? He said, oh, the temperature's got lower and I'm getting more understeer. And, well, here we are. The temperatures are now down even lower than it was in free practice 3. And Arvin Lindblad suffering from yet more understeer. I feel like that could have been avoided, but seems like they didn't crank up the front wing angle as they probably should have. Perez comes over the radio and says, I think my suspension is broken. What? We have not seen a suspension failure for a very long time in Formula 1. At least not, you know, the catastrophic kind. The catastrophic kind, the last one I can remember remember 2020, Danny Kvyat had a failure at Silverstone, but Sergio Perez drives into the pit, suspension failure, and that is him out of the race. I don't think they're going to be able to fix a suspension in the pit lane, so yeah, I think that's the race over for Sergio Perez. Very, very unfortunate. Up at the front, Verstappen's still maintaining that 2-second gap. Like, it's 2.3 seconds. Verstappen doing a good job holding Antonelli honest. Like, if he was to do an undercut, then he is within margin, of course, to be able to pull that off. If Verstappen was to pit right now, he would come out just about where Isaac Hadjar is. So, you know, not a huge amount of clean air right there. So that's why he's not coming into the pits. These drivers are hoping for a gap to form and hoping for, you know, the drivers to spread out a little bit and they can get some clean air after their pit stop. Okay, we're on lap number 15 of 44. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you everyone for subscribing as well. We're getting very, very close to 250k. We've got Hadjar making the overtake on Bortoletto. Job done, really. Turn number 5. Easy peasy, and 10th position for Isaac Hadjar, who finds himself up in the points. Also, folks, a quick reminder, Isaac Hadjar is not going to be pitting till the end of this race. Once everyone comes into the pit, everyone's still got one pit stop ahead of him, and that would put Hadjar in a net P2. So net P2 for Isaac Hadjar after everyone comes into their pit stops. Of course, he will have much, much more worn out tyres. You do have to keep that in mind, but right now, Hadjar's in a net P2, P3. So pretty nicely done. We are approaching the pit stop window, so we will see the medium tyres runners, drivers start coming into the pits around about from lap 15 to lap 22. That's where you're expecting them to pit, and you know, we'll see how it plays out. Isaac Hadjar, new Minister of Defence for Max. I mean, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, Max doesn't really need much defending work to be done, to be honest. Leclerc's a bit too far back. As I say that, Leclerc's now within the 1 second gap of Max Verstappen, and he's going to try and close that up. So we'll see how Leclerc can do. Seems like Hamilton, who was quicker earlier on, and of course, as he was saying over the radio, that pace has seemingly evaporated, maybe due to tyres overheating, maybe due to something else, but he's now 1.4 seconds behind Charles, and Leclerc is 7/10 back from Verstappen. F1 Gamer, out of curiosity, who are you supporting to win the World Cup final? Well, I think I might just commentate the World Cup final. I might just set up a stream and I might just commentate the World Cup final, so you guys can just watch that. I will drop a poll in. Just vote yes if you're going to watch. If you would watch my stream for the World Cup final, and then obviously vote no if you're not. But I think I might do one. Seems like, well, you know, my commentary is good for Formula 1 because I'm relatively knowledgeable about Formula 1. I don't know so much about football, but, you know, we'll see. And gap up at the front, 2.4 seconds. That's 2.6. Oh, Max gets a bit of a bad exit out of turn number 15. Oh, that's a okay. Leclerc now really closing up here. Yeah, that was quite the bad exit for Max. Of course, deploying a bit more battery to recover that back, but you know, you can't have battery make up for all of your mistakes. Okie dokes, and yeah, 0.8 is the gap up at the front. Can Max do an undercut? He can. The thing is, because Spa is a low tyre wear circuit, you're not really going to get a huge advantage from the undercut. So where you've got super high tyre wear, the difference between someone on old tyres and new tyres is really, really big. But because Spa's a low tyre wear circuit, there isn't that big of a difference, and hence the undercut isn't as powerful. So yeah, it's unlikely that Max would be able to undercut Antonelli, but, you know, Hamilton, for example, because the gap's only 1.7 seconds there between himself and Leclerc, that might work. Leclerc could definitely undercut Max Verstappen, but yeah, that's sort of how it's going to go. Hadjar making solid progress up ahead of Bortoletto now, a 7th position for Hadjar. He's now got 11 seconds to try and catch up to Norris. We'll have a look at their lap times, what they're doing and what sort of progress and inroads Hadjar can make. Okay, it seems like we've got quite a lot of people interested in watching my World Cup coverage, so I guess I will be doing a stream then. Fantastic. Okay, also no further action there between Leclerc and Piastri, so no penalty for the contact between Leclerc and Piastri going through towards turn number 5. There was a little bit of damage to Piastri's barge board on the right hand side, but yeah, no penalty awarded. Charles Leclerc gets away with it, and Hamilton still 5-second time penalty from when he collided with Russell at the start of the race. Thanks for the donation. How energy sensitive is Hungary in comparison to Spa? Hungary is the exact opposite of Spa in terms of energy sensitivity. Here in Spa, of course, energy is absolutely everything because you've got so many straights. Hungary, you've only really got 2 straights, and they're a whole lot shorter than the straights at Spa. So, yeah, it's really not energy sensitive at all. It's much more downforce oriented. So, whoever did well in Monaco will probably do well in Hungary. Max Verstappen into the pit lane, and that is a very slick pit stop by the Red Bull 2. 2.5 seconds in and out. Job done. Hard tyres for Max as he emerges from the pit lane. He should be coming out just ahead of Isaac Hadjar if that has been timed correctly. It is Strat 9 for Max Verstappen, so it seems like it used to be Strat 7 on the Honda power unit for maximum attack. It seems like it might be Strat 9 here on the new Red Bull power units for 2026, but he's going to try the undercut. We know that it's not that powerful, but you might as well give it a shot. So let's see what Max Verstappen can do. He's activated Strat 9. He's got a whole bunch of clean air. It's time to attack. Okay. Oh, VSC deployed. What's this? VSC deployed? What's going on? All right, well, the drivers want to come into the pits now. There's a double yellow flag at track sector 18 and 19. Where's that? Going through Blanchimont. There's double yellows at Blanchimont. Can you take I don't think you can take you can serve a 5-second time penalty if you pit under VSC. I keep forgetting this regulation because they used to change. I think they've changed it now. But there's marshals on the circuit. VSC is ending already. So actually, nobody's can even come into the pit lane and even benefit from it. VSC is ending, and it seems like we're just going to continue on. We've got strat mode 7 for Antonelli, so it seems like that is their typical race mode for the Mercedes power unit. So yeah, doing my best here to keep track of which strat everyone's in and which is their attack mode and such. This, of course, ideal for Antonelli. Anthony dives into the pit lane. Oh, okay, so he's protecting against the undercut, and we'll see where he emerges against Max Verstappen. So the gap when they came into the pits was, I think, 2.6 seconds was the gap between Verstappen and Antonelli. At Antonelli with a 2.6 second stop, so that's 1/10 slower than the Red Bull stop. And here comes Verstappen now out in towards La Source. Antonelli emerging through the exit of the pit lane. And what is the gap between the two drivers? It's 3.5 seconds. Maybe that's going to drop a little bit as they head towards Eau Rouge. 2.7, yeah. So the gap holds just about steady. 2.4 now, but not a huge amount of time gained by the undercut there because, as I said, tyre wear not very high here in Spa. Lewis has not served his 5-second time penalty, so he's still got that 5 seconds. So whenever he comes into the pit lane, he'll have to serve that 5-second time penalty. Also, track limit extension there for Lewis Hamilton, lap number 18. So the previous lap, he exceeded track limits going through Radion at turn number 4. So that's one track limit warning for Lewis. Okay. Hadjar now in a net P3. Net P3 for Isaac Hadjar. And that is, once everyone comes into the pit lane, Hadjar should be looking good, really. Verstappen now purple in the middle sector. This is where the downforce setter is showing, and he's going to do his best to close up. We'll wait and see if he can make any inroads on Kimi Antonelli. We've got the two McLarens driving in formation here. Norris gets ahead of Piastri, and they're on different strategies at the end of the day. It's hard tyres for Norris, medium tyres for Piastri. So Piastri's mediums are very much wearing out at this point, and he might as well get a tow or a slipstream off his teammate for a lap or two before he dives into the pits. Okay, fastest lap of the race there from Max Verstappen, a 1 minute 50.031, and he is 3 seconds back from Antonelli. And Hamilton... Yeah, Hamilton's been told about his 5-second time penalty now. He's obviously not very pleased. Piastri re-overtakes Norris. What? I thought they were swapping around because they're on different tyre strategies, but clearly not. And you've got Piastri now ahead of Lando Norris. And Max is just holding that gap to Antonelli, 2.7 seconds. Okay, who else is left to pit? Fernando Alonso yet to come into the pit lane. The two Audis, the two McLarens, and the two Ferraris. VSC deployed again. What's happened now? There's been a race control incident between Lindblad and Lawson for forcing another driver off the circuit. There is marshals on the track at turn number 15. Okay. I mean, look, if the VSC stays out for a while, this Marshall is pretty speedy. Actually, looks like he's made it back onto the side pretty quickly. But if Leclerc can make it to the pits while the VSC is still out, this is going to be monumental for Ferrari. I mean, this could make or break their race. So VSC is still deployed. Leclerc is approaching the bus stop chicane. You've got to dive into the pits, Ferrari. If you do not come into the pit lane now, I mean, you might as well just give up on strategy altogether. So here comes Charles Leclerc through the bus stop chicane, and he does go into the pit lane. Nice job, Ferrari. VSC is still deployed. And is Hamilton going to follow him through? Hamilton has got a 5-second time penalty. And he does follow him through. Okay. And Piastri and Norris, they'll be getting free pit stops as well. They don't double stack. Of course, slightly different strategies. You've got to keep in mind, Norris is on hard, Piastri's on medium, so Norris stays out, will hold the lead of the race. And then we have got Leclerc out, and where does he come out? He comes out in between. He comes out ahead of Antonelli for Charles Leclerc, and the pit stop has worked absolute wonders for Charles. Antonelli in P3 and Verstappen P4. Piastri comes out in 5th ahead of Lewis, so that pit stop, that 5-second pit time penalty, of course, allowed Piastri to overtake Lewis Hamilton in the pit lane. VSC is ending, tracks clear, and we are a go for racing, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone has completed their pit stop, so there you go. Everyone's completed the pit stops now. Everyone's going to the end of the race. I mean, look at that. But pretty much everyone is on hard tyres, with the exception of the two Aston Martins who are on softs. But at the end of the day, these guys are doing free practice 4. They really don't care. So I wouldn't worry about them. And to be honest, the fact that the Aston Martins are like 4 seconds off the pace probably means that they aren't getting anywhere near as much tyre wear, and they could probably still use the softs, and they don't wear out much because they just aren't driving that quickly. Ooh, that was a little bit dangerous there between Hamilton. It seems like one of the mechanics got hit when Hamilton, I don't think that he was expecting Hamilton to leave then or something, but the mechanic seems to be fine, and Hamilton drives off. But that was close. Oh, yeah. Okay. Brother, you said at the start of the race there hasn't been a VSC at Spa in 8 years, and now there's been 3. Yeah, I guess they're making up for the lost VSCs in the previous 8 years of racing at Spa. All right. Norris hasn't pit. What? Oh yeah, Norris still hasn't pit actually. Why is Norris not coming to the pit lane? 23 laps remain. I guess he's hoping for another VSC to come out, but yeah, he's about to get overtaken by Charles Leclerc, and Leclerc's done his pit stop. Norris hasn't. All right. So that is that. Yeah. We're halfway through the race, lap number 22 of 44. Everyone's come into the pits with the exception of Norris, and our race lead is essentially Charles Leclerc in a net P1. Once Norris comes into the pit lane, he will come out behind Hamilton but ahead of Hadjar. So, Norris will find himself up in 6th position. So there you go, folks. It's going to be Charles is in a net P1, Antonelli 2nd, Verstappen 3rd, Piastri 4th, Hamilton 5th, and then Norris 6th. Those are the net positions. Of course, it depends when Norris comes into the pit lane. You'll only lose 11 seconds worth of race time, 11.5 seconds. So if there's a VSC when Norris pits, he'll come out ahead of Hamilton rather than behind him. Did Lewis serve his penalty? Yes, he did. So that's been confirmed there from race control. 5-second time penalty has been served for Lewis Hamilton. So there you go. All right. There's been a collision between Lawson and Lindblad. Very, very strange there. Two teammates driving into each other. But I don't know what's going on there. Oh, the data's having a bit of a moment. Bear with me here, folks. I'll get it. Let's give it maybe... should we give it a refresh? Yeah, let's give it a refresh. Oh. There we go, fantastic. I'm just going to pause the data for about 10 seconds. It's just going to sync up with what your guys' broadcast was watching. But Leclerc has overtaken Norris for the lead of the race. That was never really a question. Leclerc's on 2-lap-old tyres. Norris is on 22-lap-old tyres. There you go. The data's sorted itself out. Nicely done. F1 Gamer on the radio they said Max is a 5-second time penalty. Max does not have a 5-second time penalty. I'd like to confirm that over the... I don't know. Sometimes the radio is inaccurate. So, yeah, the Max has not got a penalty. All right, Kimi Antonelli is rapidly closing in on Lando Norris. Fastest lap of the race there for Antonelli as well, half a second quicker than Leclerc. So Leclerc now has just got to extend out this gap. There's 22 laps left of racing, which is going to be a very long time to defend against Antonelli. But Leclerc is defending against Lewis quite well, actually. So if which is a big if, if he can hold on to the top speeds down the straights and hold off Antonelli, then in towards the braking zones, Leclerc's got it covered. Verstappen over the radio saying, "I've got no grip." Mate, I just don't believe this guy because he's just gone purple in the middle sector. I mean, this is the exact same as when Lewis would say, "Bono, my tyres are gone," and then immediately the next lap he would set a fastest lap of the race. So yeah, there you go. Verstappen says, no. Hamilton's been noted for an unsafe release, which, it was. He did collide with one of his mechanics. But I don't know if they give out time penalties for that. Typically, as far as I know, that they give out fines or grid penalties. I don't know if they give time penalties for such a situation, but I'll keep you posted on what happens. Right, Antonelli purple sector 1 here, and can't get the overtake done on Norris on this lap, so he's stuck behind him through sector number 2. And Leclerc doing his best to extend out the gap. As you can see there on the previous lap, Leclerc does go purple, 149.333, and that is 0.2 up on Antonelli. All right. The Aston Martin's yet to be lapped, actually. We're halfway through the race, yet to be lapped, so good progress for the Aston Martin team. Okay. They were trying to adjust the front wing angle on Lewis Hamilton's car. Did you put the front wing in or not? Okay, so what the teams can do, they can modify the front wing angle during the pit stops. So if Hamilton switches onto hard tyres and he knows that he gets a bit of understeer on hard tyres, they can increase the front wing angle, but they, the mechanic that was there that was trying to change it, I suspect he's the mechanic that got hit, and whatever happened with the front wing they didn't get it changed. So Hamilton's now struggling with understeer because of the unsafe release. It's now just come through on race control that it will be investigated after the race. So there you go. Typically for the unsafe releases, if it happens during qualifying, if it happens during free practice, the teams get a fine for that, like a monetary, like €5,000 fine or something. But during race conditions, it's slightly different. So it could be a time penalty. It could be something else. To be honest, my memory is sort of blanking right now, and I can't remember the last time we had an unsafe release during a race. Okay, Norris still hanging on, still holds off Kimi Antonelli through the Lake Comme chicane, and Norris manages to get the overtake done. Wait, actually, yeah, no, Norris has got that overtake done now, finally. Wait, no, Norris was ahead. What's going on? I need to drink some water. But yes, Antonelli still stuck behind Lando Norris. Norris doing his best to... I don't know why he's holding off Antonelli, because it's not really benefiting his race, because every single time he battles with Antonelli, he goes off the racing line. He takes a suboptimal line. His lap times are slower. On the previous lap, he's a full second slower than Charles Leclerc. So he's battling away with Antonelli, which I'm sure it's very fun for him to do. But in terms of net race pace, he is losing time overall. And Max is catching up. Leclerc's driving off into the distance. So, yeah. Kimi Räikkönen Bahrain 2018. Well, there you go. My first Formula One race was 2018 Spa, so 8 years ago now. So no, I haven't watched 2018 Bahrain to remember when Kimi had an unsafe release. Okie dokes. Also, folks, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, be sure to do so. Would very, very much be appreciated. We are now, 426 subscribers away. 416 subscribers away from our target of 250k. So really not that far. Would be greatly appreciated if you haven't hit the subscribe button already. Antonelli does inevitably get ahead of Lando Norris, right? This was going to happen, and it has happened. So Antonelli ahead of Norris, and Norris is now down into third position. But here we go, folks. We have got 19 laps remaining of this race. Charles Leclerc versus Kimi Antonelli for the race win. Who is it going to be? Leclerc got his first ever race win in Formula One at this very circuit with the 2019 Ferrari that had the slightly illegal power unit. But nonetheless, Leclerc does very, very well around here and has put together some very good qualifying laps in the past. If he's going to hold off Kimi Antonelli, he's going to have to put some of these incredible laps in, because, well, the Mercedes is a rocket ship. He was 0.3 quicker alone just in qualifying, and Antonelli has to gain 0.2 per lap, and he'll eat that gap up like it's not even there. Right. Track temperature 31 degrees, so that's slightly higher than what we started the race at, so that's going to be, of course, a little bit more tyre wear, but oh my god, there you go. On the previous lap, Charles Leclerc 0.6 slower than Antonelli, and that gap, which was 3 point something, is now 2.664, and both of them identical fastest laps. A 1:49.333. Both drivers set identical fastest laps. How has that happened? Two totally different cars, totally different power units, and the only things that they share in common are the GPS transponder and the 4 Pirelli tyres that are fitted to them. And these cars, identical lap times between the drivers. Okay, Hadjar did come in for another pit stop there, so you guys can see in the end he decided to pit during one of the VSCs. I did not pick up on that when it happened, but yeah, it was a little bit too risky, I guess, to go all the way till the end of the race on a single set of hards, and if there's a VSC opportunity that presents itself, you might as well take it. So Hadjar did come in for an extra pit stop, and he's still just behind Hamilton. Is rain falling? No, it doesn't look like there's going to be any more rain. It has cleared up and the skies are very much blue, so I shall get rid of this. Okay, is Max using a high downforce setup? He is, relatively, of course. It's all at Spa, everyone's still running very, very low downforce, but in relative terms, yes, he is running a higher downforce than most, and that's why he's doing quite well in sector number 2 there. You can see just over there, second fastest in the second sector. What else is going on further down the field? We've got Albon. Well, we've got a nice four-way fight for 10th position. Lawson versus Gasly versus Hulkenberg versus Colapinto. 4 drivers, 10th position. Nice little squabble. It's unfortunate they're not really showing it on the TV broadcast. But, you know, I guess Verstappen is right on the heels of Lando Norris, so we should probably pay attention to that as they go up the hill. Let's have a look at the top speeds here. Max Verstappen going 18 kilometers per hour quicker down the straight after he's tucked into Norris's slipstream. Still 18 kilometers per hour, not enough to close that gap down as they enter towards turn number 5. And on the previous lap, both Antonelli and Leclerc, they set lap times in the 1 minute 49s. Leclerc 2/10 slower than Antonelli. So, you know, Leclerc's holding his own for now. We'll see how much longer he can hang on for. But Antonelli definitely the driver with the upper hand in terms of the car, at least. Lance Stroll retires from the race. Very, very unfortunate there for Stroll, but it is what it is, and he's going to be retiring and getting home early. Waiting for the upgrades to arrive in Hungary. We'll be back in Hungary in 1 week's time, ladies and gents. So in 1 week we'll be we shall be there, and that'll be quite a nice race. All right, Verstappen now getting very, very close. Again, going down, going through Blanchimont. They're clipping through there, but despite the clipping, Verstappen still holding a higher speed through the slipstream. He's no stranger to holding a slipstream through that back straight. Of course, played a very, very big part in him getting second position in quali yesterday. And now they go again into La Source, lap number 29 of 44. 16 laps remain of this race here, folks. And well, it's coming down to the wire by the looks of it. On the previous lap, Antonelli, a quarter of a second up on Charles Leclerc, but a quarter of a second, you know, that gap is going to get harder and harder to close up as Antonelli gets closer. There's going to be more dirty air, there's going to be more sliding around of the tyres and such. So maybe Leclerc has got a real shot at this, at holding on to the race win. And Verstappen gets ahead of Norris. Norris tries for the re-overtake, but Verstappen's not having any of it. Shuts that, well, makes the gap, you know, close down and become very, very narrow. And Verstappen and Norris is like, yeah, whatever. I'm gonna have to come into the bits anyway. I think Norris is now just hanging it out there, waiting for. You can in fact see on his front right tire, you can see the level of degradation there when it's reflecting off the sunlight, but. Essentially, yeah, Norris is just waiting around now for hopefully a safety car or a VSC to come out, and then he can get a cheaper pit stop rather than losing a whole 19 seconds. That would put him where? Just, you know, 2 seconds ahead of Bortoletto. If he can only lose 11 seconds, he'll come out ahead of Hadjar. So, you know, that's what he's looking to do. Yeah, Lando still hasn't pit. You started on the hard tyres. You could probably do 40 laps on the hard tyres if you want to. We could even see Norris put on a set of softs towards the end. You know, we saw there from Carlos Sainz in 16th position right now. He did 14 laps on soft tyres at the start of his race, start of the first stint. So, you know, with heavier fuel as well, he managed to do 14 laps. So Norris now with slightly less fuel in the car, less weight, that should be very manageable indeed. Okay, up at the front again, Antonelli on this occasion, 4/10 up, or three and a half tenths up on Charles Leclerc. Gap now down to 1.7 seconds. Antonelli is closing in. I mean, he's got missile lock on Charles Leclerc's rear wing, and every single lap that goes by, every single corner, he just inches closer and closer. And it seems all but inevitable that Antonelli's going to get within the 1 second. However, I don't think it's inevitable that Antonelli's going to overtake. I think there's going to be a hardly fought battle between Leclerc and Antonelli. F1 Gamer Norris says, I'm racing with Oscar. I'll explain why later. Bro, he is not racing with Oscar in any sense of the regard. Norris has got to do a pit stop, which is going to cost him 19 seconds. So, in essence, he's 19 seconds behind Piastri in the race. So he should probably just let his teammate by and avoid making inter-team drama. But, you know, he is the reigning world champion. So to get in contact with him, you of course need that world championship hotline. And mate, he's drifting about. His tyres are really gone here, Lando Norris. The rear of the car very much sliding about. Okay. Let's have a look. Hamilton there doing lap times of a 1:49.8. Charles Leclerc doing a 1:50.1. So Charles Leclerc, despite having a bit of clean air up at the front, not able to hold on to those sector times that Lewis is. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe Charles is, maybe he's just down on pace, or maybe he's preserving his pace a little bit and getting ready for an Antonelli attack. Norris does come into the pit lane. It looks like McLaren decided to stop that squabbling before it even begun, and Norris into the pits now, and he's going to come out just ahead of Bortoleto, if my calculations are correct. And there we go. Oh, it's tight. It's very, very tight, actually. And Norris comes out behind Bortoleto. Game's gone. Game's gone for Lando Norris. I mean, it'll be a very easy overtake on Bortoleto. But, yeah, there you go. Isaac Hadjar has made incredible progress. I've got to say, if my driver of the day, most certainly Isaac Hadjar. Up so many positions, great strategy, great tyre management. Of course, 14 laps left of this race, which he's still got to hold off probably Lando Norris. I think that's his key threat with 14 laps left to go. But, well, we'll see what he can do. Yeah, it was a slow pit stop for the McLaren team, and hence my calculations were thrown off. Wasn't expecting such a bad stop, but hey-ho. Leclerc over the radio saying the first to second gear is so bad. It's okay, so Leclerc, of course, having issues with shifting between first and second gear. It's becoming quite a thing here in Spa. The drivers do shift into first gear through the bust-up chicane, through La Source, just trying to keep the RPMs up so the battery can charge. And yeah, Charles, of course, having some problems there. Because the thing is, right, every time you upshift, the rear wheels, there's always a little sort of upset. Sometimes the horsepower doesn't match, sometimes the torque doesn't match, the wheel speed is ever so slightly off, and there's always a tiny little disturbance every time you upshift, every time you downshift as well. But when you're in such a traction limited phase, when you're shifting from first gear to second gear, you've got no aerodynamic grip from your rear wing, from your diffuser. It's purely mechanical from the tyres. And if you have a bad upshift and it's upsetting the rear car, you start sliding around, you get extra overheating and things like that. It's quite possibly the worst gear shift to have this issue. If you're shifting from 8th gear to 7th gear and you've got a clunky downshift or an upshift, then you can deal with it. It's not gonna be the end of the world because you've got a lot of downforce helping you out in that situation. But in first and second gear, it's quite the issue. Okay, Lando Norris does get ahead of Bortoleto as expected. Let me pop up the championship standings here, folks, up onto the screen. Here we go. So you can see 18 points gained for Kimi Antonelli. Hamilton, if he gains 10 positions by finishing in 5th place, then that will put him ahead of George Russell by 3 points. 0 points, of course, for George Russell after that DNF from today with because of that collision with Hamilton. We got Leclerc with 25 points if he can hang on to this race win, but Antonelli is closing in fast. Gap now down to 1.2 seconds, and then the rest of the drivers stay in pretty much the same position. Colapinto moves up from 13th to 12th. Okay. Okie dokes. How's Hamilton suddenly got pace? I don't know. I think his time management's just must be pretty good. That's why he's able to hold on to these consistent 149.8. Well, here we go. Across the line, what's it going to be for Hamilton? 149.6. So some pretty good pace here from Lewis, actually. I think his time management a bit better than Charles's. And Leclerc now under pressure here from Kimi Antonelli. They are blasting down the Kemmel Straight. Antonelli on this occasion is going 13 kilometers per hour quicker than Charles Leclerc. Not enough to get the overtake completed in towards Les Combes on this occasion, but there are still 12 laps after this race, so 12 more attempts for Antonelli to make a move in towards there. Alright, this is what we've been waiting for, folks. We've got Spa-Francorchamps, a proper race circuit, very, very wide, loads of overtaking opportunities, and we've got a head-to-head fight for first position with 12 laps left to go. I mean, this is what Formula 1 is all about. And we are encountering a little bit of traffic here for the drivers. Bottas getting in the way of Leclerc and Antonelli. Leclerc, I'm sure, will not be pleased, being like, oh, I'm getting held up and this, that and the other. Norris's GPS momentarily disappearing and teleporting him across the circuit, but seems to be fine. To be fair, the teams do actually have radio issues and GPS issues here because the pit lane is here, and then the edge of the circuit over there at turn number 5 and 6 is firstly up a hill, and then there's so many trees in the way. Sometimes the radio doesn't actually work in sector number 2, and they've got to wait till they come around to sector number 3 to start hearing them again. So that definitely was an issue in the past. Maybe they've got slightly more powerful radios nowadays, but yeah, definitely has been an issue before. Bottas peels off into the pit lane by the looks of it. Yeah, there you go. And Leclerc and Antonelli are left to fight. Here they go then. Through La Source they go. And how is this battle going to turn out? Charles Leclerc with the Ferrari power unit. I'm sure he's got his battery saved up and ready for this very moment. Antonelli has got 5 kilometers extra as they enter through Eau Rouge, and at the exit of Radion he has got 10 kilometers per extra, 20 kilometers extra, and he pulls off to the left hand side. Charles Leclerc to the inside. He defended very well against Lewis, but he just cannot do anything against his power unit. It's purple in the first sector for Antonelli after getting a really good slipstream. Anthony overtakes Charles Leclerc, and 7/10 is the gap after 4 corners. 4 corners, and the gap is 7/10. I mean, Antonelli's just, yeah, he's driving very, very well, I've got to say. Let's put it that way. 20 kilometer per hour difference down the start finish line, folks. I mean, not down the start finish line, down the Kemmel Straight. What was Charles Leclerc even really supposed to do in that situation, right? He's going to try and stay within the 1 second and try and close up and potentially go for a re-attack. Antonelli will have deployed a lot of battery in through sector number 1, so Leclerc does have a counter-attack opportunity through sector number 3. We'll see if he is going to try that, but you know, it looks like he is trying it, and he's gaining a little bit, but it's just not huge amounts that he is gaining. Oh, no. It seems like Leclerc's still got a little bit of fight left in him. He might have just let Antonelli by and is now going to try and re-overtake him. They now head down the start-finish straight. Both of them get relatively good exits. They open up their rear wings and front wings, and in towards La Source they go. Very deep on the brakes for Antonelli. Who's going to get the better exit, though? Fastest lap of the race for Antonelli. Leclerc gets a good exit, but it's not as good as Antonelli's. Antonelli already ahead of the 1 second gap. And now they come across through the Kemmel Straight, and the speed difference is 20 kilometers per hour again in Charles Leclerc's favour, but he's just so far behind that the 20 kilometers per hour just means nothing. He can't close the gap up in towards turn number 5, and Antonelli may have sealed the deal. I mean, look, let's not just jump too early here, because there's always the opportunity for someone to make a mistake, touch a bit of gravel, and Leclerc's right on his heels again. But gap right now, 9/10 of a second, 7/10 of a second. It's hovering around there. We have got Hamilton catching Piastri rapidly. On the previous lap, Hamilton 1 full second faster than Oscar Piastri. So yeah, he's going to come under pressure from Lewis Hamilton very, very quickly, actually. With 10 laps left to go, let's wait and see how that turns out. Also, folks, we are very close to 250k now. I mean, nearly just 250 subscribers or so left, and we'll make our way over to 250k. So much appreciated to everyone tuning in, everyone that has hit the subscribe button today. Big, big thank you to you guys. Yeah, and if you haven't hit the like button as well, be sure to do that when you do head down to subscribe. But yeah, we're getting pretty close. 3 DNFs, yeah, we had suspension failure for Perez, some sort of issue for Stroll, unclear what that was, and George Russell got beached in the gravel. So that is that's the extent of the issues for the drivers DNFing. Okay. Antonelli, a lap time deleted for exceeding track limits at turn number 4 there on the previous lap. Going through Eau Rouge, cut the corner a little bit, so that might be why he managed to extend that gap out against Charles Leclerc and managed to hold off Leclerc down the Kemmel Straight, cutting the corner ever so slightly. He has, of course, got to be careful not to do that again. Yeah, Leclerc's going to try and repass him. Again, 20 km/h advantage. And this time, Leclerc, go for a dive down the inside. Come on, send a dive bomb. But no, he's just too far back. And it's too risky. It's not that big of a braking zone at the end of the day. You know, going from 8th gear down into 4th gear, whereas, say, at the bus stop chicane, you're going from 8th gear down into 2nd gear, even 1st gear. So a very big pace difference there. And that's an ideal situation to send a dive bomb. The longer time you spend on the brakes, the better opportunity it is for a dive bomb. Lando Norris, fastest lap of the race. Of course, he's now on some fresh medium tyres. He's done the alternate strategy to everyone else. So he started the race on the hards, everyone else started the race on the mediums, and he instead is ending the race on the mediums here. And well, fast lap of the race, and he's going to try and catch up to Hadjar. There's a 7.5 second gap and 9 laps remaining of the race. However, on the previous lap, he was 1.3 seconds faster. Yeah, Leclerc's not giving this one up easily, actually. There's even the slightest hint of a mistake from Antonelli out of La Source, and Leclerc will be all over the back of him. Like, it's... Antonelli has still got the Scarlet Ferrari in his mirrors, and he is not able to drive off into the sunset, as he has done in many previous occasions throughout this season. The Ferrari is able to stay within arm's reach of the Mercedes. So I've got to say, there is some solid progress there from the Ferrari team. At a circuit which is as energy-starved as Spa, they're able to keep up with a team with a superior power unit, superior battery recharge strategy and all of that stuff. So, you know, maybe in the Hungaroring, where you're not as energy-starved, your downforce plays a bigger factor, your chassis plays a bigger factor, we could have Ferrari find themselves up at the top. Well, yeah. All right. Also, we are racing in Belgium next week. So whatever time it is for you in the world right now, if you go back 1 hour and 15 minutes, that will be when the race in Hungary starts next weekend on Sunday. So that will be that'll be good to see. So be sure to tune in then as well. Okie dokes, we've hit our 5,000 like target. We're 150 subscribers away from 250k. So if you guys haven't hit that subscribe button, now is an incredible time to do so. Yeah. All right, is Lewis closing up on Piastri? He most certainly is. Gap down to 1.2 seconds. 8 laps remain of this race, and Hamilton is closing in. Norris is doing his best here to try and catch up to Hadjar, but yeah, it's going to be a tough one. With only 8 laps left to go, closing up a 6-second gap is going to be tough. Behrman easily caught and passed and walked away. Albon, Ocon can't get close. Yeah, actually, I'm not sure really what's the difference between Behrman and Ocon, but Ocon has been consistently underperforming compared to Behrman. Behrman has been the driver that's quicker in quali, that's quicker in the race. I think Behrman's got more points than Ocon as well. So, you know, maybe it's Ocon not being able to adapt. Maybe there's something wrong with his car, like there is with George Russell. Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to see. And Leclerc once again has just dipped back under that 1 second, but it's 8/10 now, and yeah, looks like Leclerc's hopes of this race win are fading as each corner goes by. Look at Lewis. Yeah, there we go. He's within 1 second now. As Leclerc's hopes fade of overtaking Antonelli, Hamilton's hopes start rising up to overtake Oscar Piastri. He has been closing in consistently for the previous, I've got to say, at least 7 or 8 laps now, Hamilton. And Piastri now has got to be very, very careful. He has got margin to continue defending, right? 7 laps left of this race, so he can defend because Isaac Hadjar's quite the way back. But yeah, he's now got to start looking in his mirrors. Okay, and here we go then. Charles Leclerc, 1.1 seconds. Yeah, I think it might be, I don't want to say it's over, but it might be over. Yeah, track temperature rising up to 33 degrees Celsius, so we're still getting a bit more tyre wear than the teams may have been expecting. Air temperature still at 19 degrees, so it seems like that might be helping the power unit side of things, you know, the cooler air temperatures. We're definitely not going to have the cooler air temperatures in Hungary, but we are going, well, we have them here, and we haven't had as many reliability problems. Exoteric, thank you for the donation. Oh, the chat's going by pretty quickly today. Glad the season has shaped up since the rule amendments. Wow, it could have been so bad. Yeah, honestly, the rule changes have made things a bit more positive. I do also have to think that the race directors have done a slightly better job at hiding the fact that the cars are slowing down the straights. They no longer show the speedos. Like, you can see the onboard here with Lewis. In the past, they would have showed the speedo, what the car's doing, what gear it is, what throttle position, but they've stopped doing that. They cut away when the battery is recharging and things like that. However, compared to the start of the season, it is still a very big improvement. So it was bad, but it's improved to be less bad. That's probably my summary of it. All right, Lando Norris, fastest lap of the race. Oh my goodness me. Wow. Still got the pace on 8 lap or mediums. It is a big improvement though, so yeah, it's nice to see. And thanks for the donation again. Thanks for the $10, buddy. All right. And look at that. We are not too many subscribers away. It's like 30 subscribers away now, 33 subscribers. There you go, 32. F1 Gamer, why don't you show the battery levels? Unfortunately, they don't provide us that information. I would love to show you guys the battery levels. It would be so interesting to see what all the different teams are doing in terms of strategy to recharge the battery and such, but unfortunately, we do not have that information shared. All right, Hamilton, though, getting very close to Piastri now. He's tucked right into the slipstream. I think this might be the lap number 40 of 44. Hamilton is going to pull off this overtake. Oh, there we go. We've hit 250k. Oh, absolutely mega, folks. I, again, have not got anything prepared to say. And, you know, if you've been here on the channel for a while, I mean, I normally make a comment about how this could be the size of a town or something. But, I mean, it's just incredible, really. Like, words can't really describe how awesome this channel is. So, just, big thank you to everyone tuning in and listening to my coverage. Glad that you guys enjoy it so much. Here we go, Lewis. We're about to get an overtake here. I'll come back to talking about this. Hamilton getting very close to Piastri here. Piastri deploying a lot of battery. Hamilton up to 347 kilometers per hour. He's deployed absolutely everything that he's got. He tries it around the outside, says thank you very much, job done from Lewis Hamilton. What an overtake and what a top speed that he's hit. However, he's going to be under a lot of pressure coming through the final sector now. Hamilton has deployed almost all of his power as he has went down that straight because he's hit a top speed of 347 kilometers per hour, which is quicker than they were in quali as far as I remember. And this was on super low fuel in quali and everything. So yeah, he's going to be under pressure now. We'll see if he can break that gap out in the middle sector. Seaferry93, thanks for the $20 donation. Congrats on 250. Much appreciated, Seaferry. And thank you to all of the moderators, all of the people that are channel members, everyone tuning into the chat, everyone who hits the like button. You know, as always, you guys are the reason why the channel is continuously growing and getting bigger and bigger. You know, I'm sure if I look now, we're probably the biggest live stream on YouTube or something. So it's great pleasure to commentate to you guys every single weekend. And I'll be starting working in September. So I've graduated out of uni, got my results, got a first class degree. Hopefully, while I'm working, I'll still be able to do the commentary on Fridays, but on Saturday and Sunday, make no doubts, I will be there and I'll be commentating. So, big pleasure here, folks. Thanks to Brina Jolly for the donation. Just love the combo of live data and your commentary. Best way to experience it outside of watching it live. Well, yeah, thank you. I'm not too sure what to say, but really, really appreciated. Right. Piastri unable to get back past Lewis Hamilton. Seems like Piastri just didn't have the pace, which is fair enough. Seems like his tyre management's not on the same level as Hamilton's. Maybe it's the McLaren, maybe it's Piastri himself, but Hamilton having some exceptional tyre management and his consistency in lap time is right there. He's done a 149.5. Charles Leclerc is also now doing a 149.6, but he wasn't able to do it earlier on. When Antonelli was closing in, Leclerc was up in the 1 minute 50s, was in the 1 minute 50.5, 0.6, but suddenly after Antonelli's overtaken him, he's now going quicker, which is a little bit strange. Of course, part of that will be down to fuel load and things like that, but he's now setting identical lap times to Hamilton, so who knows. F1 Gamer, I've been here since the face reveal. Yeah, I know some of you guys have been here since like 20k, 10k. I think it was Imola 2022. It might have been where I hit 22k or 25k or something like that. And there's quite a lot of people since then. So, big thank you to you guys. And here we are. 8 years after I watched my first Formula One race. I mean, I'm in the room downstairs. I was sat on the sofa watching 2018 Spa when Seb Vettel come across the line to win the race. And 8 years later, here's the YouTube channel with 250k. So, quite crazy, to be honest. Who knows what happens in 8 years' time? But that's I guess we'll see. Mexico 2022 was the first stream. Yeah. Wow, okay. All right, Antonelli, 149.0 on Antonelli, a 149.09, and Lando Norris, who currently holds the fastest lap of the race, is only 1/10 quicker. Norris on fresher medium tyres is going only 1/10 quicker than Antonelli on 23-lap-old hards. Of course, that's partially down to the clean air that Antonelli's got, but we've got 3 laps remaining, folks, and the things that are going right down to the wire, it is Norris versus Hadjar. The battle for 6th position. We'll see how it goes. F1 Gamer, who knows what will happen in 6 years? Well, you can guess who the FIA president is going to be. Maybe I'll be the FIA president. Who knows? But also, by the way, guys, I will be commentating the World Cup final. Bit something different, and something different. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully, my commentary is good for the World Cup final as well. Okay. By the way, just to confirm, Hamilton did have a 5-second penalty right at the start of the race, but that he has served that 5-second time penalty. So wherever he finishes on the track right now, that will be where he finishes in terms of actual positions. He is under investigation for an unsafe release. So during his pit stop, he hit one of his mechanics, or one of his mechanics got in the way, whatever you want to call it. There was a collision there, and he's under investigation for that at the end of the race. And maybe there'll be a fine, maybe there'll be a penalty, but we'll see what happens later on. It'll certainly be better than the American commentators. I've got to say, I watched some of the England football games with the British commentators, and I see why so many of you guys prefer watching my streams, because, obviously the British commentators can be slightly biased towards the England team, but they were comparing Harry Kane to Lionel Messi, and they were saying, they're so similar, and that's what they mean to their team, and look, Harry Kane's a good football player, but he's not Lionel Messi. So I understand why you guys watch my coverage in terms of not being biased and things like that. So, yeah. And I've seen a few people ask in the chat, am I Indian? I am Indian. I was born in Mumbai, but I came to the UK a very long time ago. And My name is Larry, of course. That's what it says on my passport. Yeah. Okay. 2 laps left of this race, and Norris getting closer and closer to Isaac Hadjar. 1.2 seconds remain on the gap there between those two drivers. And up at the front, Charles Leclerc only 2.2 seconds back from Antonelli. I've got to say, Leclerc has done a really good job today. At the end of qualifying yesterday, he did get his lap disrupted. He thought there was a yellow flag. The yellow flag was in the pit lane, but Charles Leclerc had mistaken it for it being a yellow flag on the circuit. If Leclerc had read the race director's notes, he would have realised it was for the pit lane, but, I digress. Leclerc either hadn't read it in detail or he had forgot about it. And he had a really good race start and has been able to hold some very consistent race pace. Only 2.5 seconds back from Antonelli is solid progress for the Ferrari team. So we'll see what they can do in Hungary, a circuit that is much less energy starved. We have got we're on the final lap of the race here, folks. We're on the final lap of the race. Isaac Hadjar most certainly has to be my driver of the day. Lando Norris is not close enough to make an overtake here. He's not within the 1 second margin. So unless Hadjar has a big drift going through some of these corners, it looks like Hadjar's got 6th position in the bag. And let me just pop the points table up on the screen for you guys, for anyone that hasn't seen it. But 0 points, of course, to George Russell after he DNFs. Hamilton gains 12 points, and he'll get 5 more points than George Russell. And Kimi Antonelli, with 25 points to his name, is going to extend out that gap by an enormous chunk. Yeah. It's looking good for Antonelli, but of course, we know what happened to Piastri in 2025 and how things can change so dramatically quickly. But Kimi Antonelli has had a sensational weekend, I've got to say. While other people have been found lacking lap time, lacking consistency, and lacking overall pace at this circuit, Kimi Antonelli, lap after lap, has been mistake-free. He's had pressure from multiple different drivers behind him in qualifying and in the race. This guy has been totally untouchable. He makes his way through the bus stop chicane for the final occasion. What a drive by Kimi Antonelli. He wins in Spa. Great drive for the Italian. Another win under his belt, and the championship lead just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Charles Leclerc comes home in second place. Max Verstappen in P3. Great drive from him as he comes across the line there. Lewis Hamilton to cross a line in 4th place. He will be investigated after the race finishes regarding his collision with his mechanic during a pit stop. Oscar Piastri across a line. It's P5 for him. Isaac Hadjar in 6th position. Lando Norris with the fastest lap to cross the line at the end of the race. It's P7 for Lando Norris. And then we've got Bortoletto scoring some points for Audi with P8 for him, Lindblad in 9th, and Franco Colapinto. My, what a defence you have done, and what a defence Argentina are going to need tonight against Spain. But yeah, Franco Colapinto, great defence against Gasly, Lawson and Hulkenberg for a very long period of this race. He's held off the competition, and as they go in towards the final lap and the final occasion that they drive through the bus stop, Franco Colapinto has got that 1 point sealed and dealed and his name written all over it. So that has been the coverage, folks. It's been a great pleasure commentating to all of you folks. So what I'm going to do now is that link that I've just dropped in the chat there. That is the link to the World Cup final stream that I'm going to be doing in a few hours' time now, for the World Cup final. Surprise, surprise. And then I'm going to end this stream. I'll take you over to the stream for Hungary. So if you guys haven't hit the like button on the Hungary stream, be sure to do that. Be sure to hit the reminder button. I'll send you a notification when the race is starting and such. But yeah, great race overall, really, I've got to say. Nice bit of action. There's always it's always great to be racing at Spa at a purpose-built racetrack. So those are the standings. In fact, let me move them over. You can see the constructors as well. Those are the constructors standings. But that has been all from me. it's been an incredible race here at Spa. I will be back in Hungary to commentate all of the free practice sessions, all of the qualifying, all of the races. If you guys do want to watch the World Cup coverage, that channel is all, the video and the stream is already up on the channel page. If you just click it and then click live, if you click F1 Gamer and then click live, it will show up, or if you can click the link in the description, or in the chat. And that is that, really. Yeah, have a wonderful morning, day, afternoon, evening, or night, depending on where you are around the world. I'd like to say another very huge thank you to everyone that has hit the subscribe button. We've made our way over to 250k. It's simply incredible. And hashtag blessed to have the best fans in Formula One. Graduated 250k. Things are looking good. So yeah. Big pleasure, guys, and I shall see you all in 1 week's time for the race in Hungary. We'll see if George Russell gets a new power unit or something, because there is issues with his power unit, but yeah, there's a lot of things to discuss, and we'll talk about it once we arrive in Hungary. Okay, so yeah, that's been all. It'll send you over to the stream for the Hungary one, just reminder and like button as always, and then the World Cup stream is already up on the channel page, which I'll be doing shortly. All right, bye bye folks. Hope you've enjoyed the coverage today.